Wires tangled loose and frayed, screens glued in the hoop once stayed. Code whisper secrets deep in the night, tech warriors battle a fading light. Carey and Doug with the wisdom they bring, sparks fly sharp like a pendulum swing. Through the noise, the truth they find, fixing the world one bite at a time. Hum low, circuit screen pain. Motherboard's cracked, it's a tech domain. Challenges rise like ghosts in the air, but they've got answers, they're fully aware. Carey and Doug with the wisdom they bring, sparks fly sharp like a pendulum swing. Through the noise, the truth they find, fixing the world one bite at a time. Carey and Doug with the wisdom they bring, sparks fly sharp like a pendulum swing. Through the noise, the truth they find, fixing the world one bite at a time.
Everybody, welcome in to our latest live broadcast. Joining us, fellow YouTube content creator and professional computer technician, Mr. Doug Betts. Welcome back, Doug. Good to see you.
Thank you. And friend.
Take a bow.
Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you. Today is the 9th of September, 2025. It's Tuesday. Of course, I'm Carey Holzman, and to my right, Doug Betts. You're on the right, aren't you?
I'm on the right as I see the screen, yeah.
Well, I guess you're going to be all right today.
So if people turn themselves around to think about your perspective, then I'm on your left.
No,
look
you're
at
on
your
my right,
left shoulder. When you look at the screen, you're seeing me on the right. But if you turn your perspective around and think of Carey's left shoulder is pointing to the middle of the screen. Oh, Jim says Doug overthinks things.
All right. Well, that makes two of us. That's a heck of a way to kick off the show. A suggestion in the change of perspective. And sometimes when you change your perspective, you change what you see. And this is a key to problem solving. See how I put that all together?
You did. That was on the script, by golly.
It was on the script.
I didn't realize that.
Welcome in. Let me jump over to the chat room. Say hello to everybody hanging out with us here on Doug's channel, our channel here. And good to see all the familiar faces. It should be open for everybody today. If you want to jump in and join us, we'd be happy to entertain your comments, questions, or these days, gossip and conjecture. So much gossip and conjecture. I just can't. No, man. People won't let this whole SSD thing go. There's a few people. Windows update causing SSDs to fail. What do you know about it?
Well, I don't see that content in those comments because I'm not out there looking.
But have you experienced the problem? Do you have any customers with the problem? Have you seen any bad SSDs after a Windows update in your career?
Yeah, there was one just recently, but it could have been claimed to be a Windows update, but I don't buy that at all. I'm trying to remember right now which one that was. I had a computer that fried on me in the last show.
Damn Microsoft.
And it had one of those NVMe drives that were the controller that is, people are talking about.
People were talking about that controller being on Samsung drives when anybody who knows even the smallest little thing about drives technically knows Samsung makes their own controllers. So there's no way Samsung would have somebody else's controllers. And so that doesn't stop them from posting on the internet. Samsung was affected by has this control. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Nah.
I think he might have bought one of those discount AliExpress Sunsang drives and maybe just,
Well, this issue was on a B-Link computer.
Yeah.
B-Link i5, as a matter of fact, so it wasn't the lowest end that I've been doing. And I'm going to say hello to Scott and then move on to the rest of that story. And Domain 2000, Zavi Minor, Mike Wojcik, hello to you all on my side. And yeah, so this client, when I called him to discuss what happened with the computer, I had already taken his drive out of the computer that fried on Saturday's show. It was just super hot with the AC adapter connected. So I disconnected it and took it apart, and we saw that the heat tube had gotten swollen, and just it not blew the parts apart, but like swelled them apart to where the heat sink was not in contact with the CPU anymore, and the thing was just super, super hot. So anyway, I had taken the NVMe drive out and restored it to another computer, another B-Link computer that I had here, not the same model, but I had already had the drivers for it exported. So I just imported those drivers. Works perfectly. So I called him to start discussing it because it's out of warranty. And I got 2 or 3 sentences into it. And he said, Doug, just buy another one and transfer the stuff over and we're done with it. I go, okay, click. So no complaint about, what should I not buy these cheap computers, or did I do something wrong, or what's wrong with them? Just buy another one. Let's be done with it.
How old was that one?
1.5 years.
So just out of its warranty. I watched that video where you disassembled it. I saw the plastic was warped. It looks like maybe just the hot air blowing on it, like a hair dryer, caused that plastic to warp. Not like a fire or anything like that, but it's just a bad case design, right? A metal case wouldn't have done that. I did see the swollen heat pipe. You did show that really good on your channel, and
bring yourself.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Now, you never did get that to turn back on, did you?
No, I wasn't interested in that. But it was fascinating to see the entire progression, meaning I first was able to connect remotely to the client's computer and found that it was not responsive. So we went to restart it, and it never would restart. It then developed a symptom where the power light would be on for a few seconds, then the power light would turn off, and it's completely dead until we press the power button to turn it on again. And sometimes it would get into the point of trying to repair Windows. It would get that far sometimes. Once I got it here onto my desk, I used the delete key to get into BIOS because I want to see, will it just sit in BIOS for a while? And no, it would not. It would stay there for several seconds, and then power light would go off. So then as I had disassembled it before the live stream, nothing looked wrong inside of it. I put it back together. I cleaned out the fans, put it back together, and then tried doing more stuff on Saturday. And I really think that swelling happened during Saturday's show. I don't think it was swollen like that beforehand. Although there may have been some swelling, which caused, because I mentioned in the show that when I first took the motherboard out, it was a little difficult, but not bad. But then after I put it back in, I could never get the motherboard out again without the excessive measures that I went to on Saturday. So interesting.
Yeah, I think you got to work at the factory to get everything back in the box, let alone put the thing together. There's a great video, I don't know if you saw it, of the B-Link factory building these.
Oh, really? No,
Oh,
I would like to see that. Yeah.
It is. It's amazing how much time and effort just goes into the case. Now, your case was plastic, so it didn't apply in this scenario, but it is a B-Link factory. And to see the process and how much manual labor, I thought more of it was automated, but fascinating and a great video. In fact, that whole channel, what is it called? Let's see if I can bring it up here. I'll do a search on YouTube for Mini PC Factory. I think that'll pull it up.
Was that specifically a B-Link factory or just mini PCs?
Yeah, it's B-Link specifically.
Oh, I see one. I see one here.
Inside China's mini PC production, how tiny computers are made by a a YouTube channel called Satisfactory Process. It's about 22 minutes long, I think. And yeah, highly recommended viewing material.
Oh, I definitely want to watch that.
In fact, that whole channel shows different factories. It shows heat sinks being made, radiators for liquid coolers being made. It's really, really good with no narration, more or less. You just read the text at the bottom of the screen as it goes over the video. So it's something to, you know, take in more with your eyes than your ears. So I want to talk about Doug Bett's NAS adventures.
All right.
So we sent Doug a Synology NAS. He's never used one before. And I said, hey, if you're open to it, I got a few extras. Let me send you one. You play with it. No pressure. You know, look, there's a lot of things you can do with this. For example, I use it as a public share for my clients. I use it as a public share in my house. Our friend Mitch Morrison, he uses it to stream his movies and medias to his cell phone when he travels. He's got full access to all of his content. And that's all he uses it for. On the other hand, there's also people that like to test software, load virtual machines, use Docker. You can use Active Backup. Synology Business Active Backup is free, included with the Synology that can back up all the machines on your network on a schedule, just like Acronis, but it's free and included with the Synology, and second to none in the industry as far as the automated backup offering goes. Plus, there's a dozen other ways to back up, a dozen other ways to do all different kinds of options in the apps. You load apps on a NAS like you would on a smartphone, right? And the Synology's been out the longest, so it has the biggest category, or catalog rather, of different apps to choose. And in many cases, some categories of apps, there's multiple options, and you just try them out, see which one you like. So we sent that over to Doug, and Doug's like, great, what do I do with it? And I said, that's the great part, Doug. The world is full of possibilities. So,
I have specifics in mind for myself once I get it back. It's not here now. I have it out on loan to a client's office, testing the viability of that for their office. And I had mentioned previously about the my likely choice to use the encryption on it, because I'm not comfortable with how easily you can reset the administrator password on that without losing any of the data on there, meaning if it were to get physically stolen, somebody could reset the administrator password and have full access to the data that's on the computer. But if you encrypt it using the Synology encryption, then you have to enter the unlocking codes for that, even if you have the administrator account. So as I understand it, and I want to test it, the administrator account alone will not unlock the encryption. And then I was also concerned about copying files over to it because of the path name too long. So I'll be using RoboCopy to deal with that. I've already done, it's in place at my client's office and on a test bench. And I have copied everything from the primary server. There's a file server and there's a communication server. So the file server is where really most of their files are at. And that operation had multiple messages of multiple files where the path was too long, just using Windows drag and drop copy. So then the next phase, which I haven't got to yet, is to use the RoboCopy command built into Windows that has the capability of, it'll examine the destination and the source, compare which files need to be copied over, and also has an option so that if files have subsequently been deleted from the source, that this will delete those files or folders from the destination. So I very much like that there is a command built up within Windows to do this. And I did not know about that command. Somebody on my one of the viewers on my channel, I believe, brought my attention to that. I'm sorry, not remembering who that was right now. I could guess among a small handful of them who that was. And then also the next thing was creating the user accounts, because they will each have their specific user account with, ideally, it was going to be the same username and password that they currently have on the file server, but that did not work because some of them aren't complex. And Synology, if you have the password requirements turned on, even if you try to turn off the complexity, there's a level of complexity it won't go below. Now, I did find somewhere indication that maybe there's another place where I can lighten up on that even further, but I found a solution that I like better. And that is that I already have all their usernames and passwords in an Excel worksheet. I already have complex passwords assigned to each of them for their Microsoft accounts. I can assign the complex passwords for the Synology, but yet their local Windows password can remain unchanged. So I don't have to tell them all that, oh, you got this new password to deal with, because Windows will remember their account credentials for the Synology. So I have to go around to each computer anyway to remap drive letters to the Synology instead of the file server. And so I just put in their username and password there, say, remember these credentials or remember me, whatever the checkbox says, and boom, we're done. So that piece looks like it's going to be okay. And I've also figured out how I can take the Excel spreadsheet I have and import that into Synology to create the user accounts. At one point I thought, well, 40 user accounts, I could go through those. But then when I went and experienced the creating the user account, I realized, okay, well, you put in this information and then click this button and then wait. And then there's another button to click and wait, and another button to click and wait. And okay, that's going to take a while. And by doing the spreadsheet, I not only can do the username and the password, but I can also do the user group assignments, because there are some specific user group assignments, because we do use a little bit of security on particular folders. So that's about where I'm at with it. And I'd say it's looking encouraging.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, it's one of those things where there's so many different ways to use it. Rather than advise anybody how to use it, the best thing is just put it in your hands and let you play with it. Because the work you do is different from the work that I do. It's probably different from the work other techs do, depending on the needs of the clients. And for me, it's an absolute server replacer. I mean, with a few exceptions, we've been able to pull the servers out of, I'm trying to think if I still have a client with a server now. I used to have one server, but client had 3. We took them down to just 1. Oh, that client, you know what? They sold their business, so it's irrelevant now. So no, I don't have any more clients with servers. They're all NAS. They used to have servers. Now they all have NASs instead.
I still have some servers and some that will never change away from servers. John Downey asked, so Doug, do your customers use Windows servers? Well, yeah, I do have a small handful of them. The most substantial one is in the financial services business, and we're absolutely going to stay on a Active Directory and very high security, and and they have software that requires a server. I have a few other clients with software that requires a server. Now, this office where I'm putting in, well, probably going to be putting in a Synology rack mount NAS, that we do have 2 pieces of software there that need an actual file server, but that doesn't have to be our main data storage. So that is a obsolete operating system on that server. It's Windows Server 2008 R2. So it should get replaced, but I can replace it with a low-end server that just meets the qualifications that those software elements need, because I think those software pieces that need a server just need it for the, control operation, and the data for those programs, I think, can be on the Synology. But even if it can't, I can still have that piece on an actual server. But that's going to save them money over buying a server that's actually capable of doing all of their 40 plus workstations.
Yeah, and they cost less money in electricity.
Right.
They take up less room on the desk. There's no keyboard, mouse, monitor. They're generally quieter. I mean, they're less expensive, and you don't have all the security updates as a Microsoft product would have with regards to being targeted. Now, they have been targeted. Synology did get targeted, as did QNAP, with a ransomware worm due to a lack of automatic updates being applied and customers being what they are, never updated them. As a result, SynoLocker and what was the other one called? Is it QLocker? Anyway, you can research those if you're curious about the history. The good news is that it's already happened. So the companies have now taken steps to ensure it doesn't happen again. But it does concern me with the new NAS manufacturers like Ugreen and Minisforum and Orico. They've not been challenged yet. And those people that are jumping in early, those pioneers, are getting a very powerful NAS at a very aggressive price point. Very limited apps that you can put on there at this point. However, with those, you can also switch over to like a freeware NAS operating system like Unraid or TrueNAS, which is a lot more complex to set up and definitely nothing I'm interested in deploying at a customer's location, but maybe as a home lab user, maybe something I'd play with if I was, I don't know, if I was retired and had nothing else to do and I wanted to tinker, that would be my tinker toy. But for turnkey solutions that I can just buy, apply out of the box, I've got one going out. I think I got it ready, a QNAP all NVMe NAS, because my client, when they're opening files on their 6-year-old Synology, they're opening a database and it's slowing down. It's taking like 10, 15 seconds for the database to open right. And they claim it's driving them crazy. I'm like, it's only 15 seconds. They're like, no, you don't understand. We get super busy, and that 15 seconds is going to add up to a lot of lost revenue. So whatever it costs to replace it, they're not looking to nickel and dime. They want it fixed at any cost at this. Well, not at any cost, but they're like, throw a number at me. And I said, well, I can get you an NVMe NAS for like, with the storage, about $2,000. He's like, please, that's nothing. When can you have it here? So I'm like, all right, no problem. And then in my mind, I'm still thinking of ways to make it cheaper because that's just who I am. And I keep having to remind myself, right? Because the default of who I am is they don't need this. This is way over the top. And I probably got a NAS here that'll, be better than what they've got and cost them half as much. And then I have to stop myself and say, they don't have a problem with the money.
Yeah, stop it. Just get it done.
Well, the thing is they also don't want this problem to reoccur again anytime soon. So if I go ahead and solve that problem with a cheaper NAS,
right,
who's to say we're right back where we are now in a year or two, and then the client's going to be like, hey, I thought you fixed this for me. And anyway, so I keep having to have this conversation in my head because there's two little Careys on my shoulders. There's the Carey that wants to save money, and there's the Carey that just says, let's spend every penny to send in more than they do. And generally the one over here to spend all the money and make it as powerful. That one, usually I just flick it off, get out of here. So I'm so used to that. I'm having to have these conversations in my head as I'm setting this thing up. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could do this another way. No, stop it. You have the solution, just see it through.
Right.
And then, hopefully this won't come up again for many years. Hopefully the business owner will retire before the new NAS should underperform for them again. But
yeah,
I got to send it out, get it out deployed, and then we'll just see what they think. Now, if they don't like the performance, this is about the highest performing turnkey NAS I can buy. So I said, because they seem to think they need a server. I said, well, I'm not supporting a server. This whole thing started with a server that was causing them problems about 15 or 18 years ago. And I convinced him, let's replace the server. It was a Linux server. I said, there's nothing I know how to do with this thing. You know, we can reboot it and such, but it was just happening over and over. Let me put a NAS in there. So they're on their second Synology NAS, and while we're switching them to a QNAP all NVMe NAS, and it's like 8 times more powerful than what they've got. So, and this is all on a 1 gig network, and I don't believe the network is the problem. To switch them up to a 2.5 gig network and 2.5 gig switches, they've got to be PoE because it's also on their phones, that powers their phones. It's going to be a lot of work and a lot of money. And I just said, yeah, I don't think it's a network traffic problem. I think it's just the processor and opening the databases is putting a lot of resource demand onto that older Synology. That's just an older CPU with 2 cores and 2 gigs of RAM. And it worked well for about 6 years. And now it feels like, you know, as far as like being a file storage closet, it's fine. But when you're hosting the database on there and you're opening the database from numerous machines around the office, it really starts to bog down. Even though there's no software running on the NAS, it must be opening up dozens of little file handles for each database it opens. And as a result, and the reason I can tell you this is we temporarily moved the database just to a desktop computer, nothing special about it, and then shared it, and everything was lickety split. So it's like, all right, it's got to be a processor issue. So that's how he came to that conclusion. The speed of the network had nothing to do with it. Like he clicks on something, it's instantaneous. Put it on a server, click on it, and it's like, wait, boom, you know. So anyway, I'll be glad to get that deployed and see what the end results are. And I am hopeful, because if the end results are not satisfactory, I have to advise the customer to get their IT support somewhere else, because they will have outgrown the services I offer. And I don't want to see that happen, but I'm not going to support a server.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, I'm super excited with NASs. They have replaced servers. I've never had a situation where we've replaced a NAS with a server. It only goes the other way around. So I'm hoping, giving you some time with it, get yourself familiarize yourself with the NAS and its capabilities. And I bet there's a bunch of other things that'll come to mind where you're starting with one today. Let's see how many you have this time next year. I'm going to guess 4 or 5.
How many NAS? Oh, among my clients.
Yeah, that you're
not
going to
for
start
myself.
replacing. Not yourself, no.
Okay.
No, I just mean like,
for myself, what I think I'll be doing is storing my long-term video copies there, which are also on my computer anyway, and store my backups of client computers there, which are redundant backups. And it'll give me the ability to share in a different way between my computers. So I am seeing it useful for my purposes in here. Now, a couple other things that are on my mind at the moment based upon the conversation so far. Somewhere along there, you mentioned something about getting a NAS that is of sufficient capability. And what came to my mind at the moment is, I think because you mentioned about being nervous about it, I was nervous at the beginning and through much of the process with installing these inexpensive $200 mini computers at client offices. And I've been reporting and still reporting that the users are all saying they're very happy with them. They're running well and faster than what they used to have. And also I've installed higher end computers. In one case in particular, where I gave them an i5 computer and then moved that computer to a different desk and gave that first person a N100 computer or N95, whatever they call it. And he said he couldn't tell the difference. So that was kind of an eye-opening thing. So basically what I wanted to say about that is I'm still somewhat nervous about it, but I've got to report that it's still working, these inexpensive computers. And I'm just My clients are happy about it, and I'm happy about it. So great. Now, then the other piece was, oh, I know, for this office, the Law 40 office is my nickname for them, so my audience recognizes who I'm talking about. I got the idea flash across my mind. Should I contemplate, should I consider NVMe NAS for them rather than the spinning hard drive? So I invite you to make a case for that. If you're still there.
Here's the way I see it. I've got 2 NVMe NASs in deployment at 2 clients right now, and I have Synologies at 2 other clients. The reason for the Synology mechanical drive NAS is storage capacity. With an NVMe drive, you're going to be very limited. The biggest one you're probably going to be able to buy is about 4 terabytes at $225 a piece, depending on how many the NAS will hold. They have them that hold 3, 6, 8, 12. Then multiply that times the number of drives, and that's your maximum capacity. So if you did like an ASUS Store Flash Store 12 with 12 4 terabyte drives, you're looking at around $1,600 for the empty NAS, $225 for each drive times 12. So that'll be 6 drives times $650. You're somewhere around $4,000 with a total capacity of, after the RAID array, around 40 terabytes. Now, for half that amount of money, I can have a storage capacity of around 100 terabytes.
Okay.
Now, so it's really about capacity. Now, the NVMe drives the NVMe NASs tend to be smaller. They don't require as much desk space, and they can have heat issues that you have to be careful which NVMe drives you put in there and test them, because they're not all designed the same. And whether or not you put NVMe drives in that already come factory with a heatsink, and whether or not you can get the lid of the NAS closed versus using what heatsinks might come. Some come with the heatsinks, the NASs, some don't. Then you could try and buy a third-party heatsink. And then again, hopefully the heatsinks aren't too tall and the cover of the NAS can close. So it's a little bit more complex. But then when it's set up and running, I did have three NVMe NASs running at clients. And one of them had a drive that disconnected. I don't know what happened, but I got an alert. It said it's a QNAP 5-bay NVMe. It's a really cute little NAS. It's a little tiny, kind of looks like a TV set-top box. It's pretty tiny. And had to go over there. These are not hot swappable like a mechanical hard drive. So I have to shut the whole NAS down, get a screwdriver, take it apart, identify which of the 5 NVMe drives was drive number 5. I know it's at one end or the other. They weren't numbered, which drove me crazy. Once I took the drive out, then there was a number underneath it printed on the circuit board that it was drive 5. Okay, I got the right drive. I ended up putting a replacement drive in, closed it up. These are 4 terabytes each, so like $250 at that time for another one. And I thought, well, we should have a spare anyway. So they have a 5-year warranty. I'll just get the customer back up and running. Not that they were down, but they had a drive failure and I wanted to get that swapped. It didn't impact business at all. RMA'd the bad drive back over to Team Group. I used a Team Group NVMe drive, and they sent me back a replacement. It was really easy. Within 2 weeks, I had a replacement. I took the replacement, I stuck it on top of the NAS, wrote spare, and I told the client, if you ever run into this issue again, please leave that here. Please leave that drive so we won't have to source another drive first. Because when they first reported the problem and I verified it, I didn't have a spare drive. So before I could schedule to come out, I had to order one from Amazon, wait for it to arrive. Once I had it, then I could call and schedule. And in the meantime, we're running without any, if another drive fails, we lose everything, except of course we always have backups regardless. But I didn't want to impede business. So that company ended up getting sold. So they're not my client anymore. But that was the only time. The other client, One of the other clients I have with an NVMe, same exact QNAP NVMe, we used Intel SSDs. They never get hot, never. And they've never had a problem with it. And it's really tiny, but it was also very expensive. It was about $600 for the empty NAS. And then I think the drives at that time were like $100 a piece. It took 4 of them. And it's 2.5 gig. And we upgraded their network all to 2.5 gig because it's a small office. It was 1 switch and 4 computers, no big deal. And they haven't had a peep of complaint since that's been installed. So whether it's QNAP or Synology or ASUS Store or TerraMaster, all of these are worthwhile considerations, with Synology probably being the most polished of them all. And QNAP, I would say, secondary, followed by ASUS Store and TerraMaster, with TerraMaster giving you the most value. You can get a lot more for the dollar with TerraMaster.
Well, I think I am likely to stick with Synology for a standardization. I'm not really interested in poking around at the different features and saving a little money here and there, and that's kind of like why I've stuck with the B-Link. I've got a question in chat from, let's see, I just went away from it. Where is that back? It's on your channel from Richard, saying, does anyone know if you have to turn off BitLocker to clone a drive? I have my answer for it. Do you want to take it?
No, you go first.
Okay. No, you don't. For truly cloning a drive, now you may need to check at the specifics of the cloning software that you're using, but the cloning operation is a bit-by-bit operation of the entire drive, especially if you're doing a forensic clone. And I think maybe with BitLocker, you would have to do that because the cloning software isn't going to have any intelligence or any awareness of where the files are. Now, if you're going to put that clone into another computer, you're going to need to have the unlock codes to be able to access anything on it, because in a different computer, that information is not going to be stored through your the TPC, whatever that is, in the BIOS. The codes would be stored in your Microsoft account if you have it stored there. Now, I have not done that, but that is my understanding of it. So I invite Carey to add to that, or anyone else in chat.
Well, here's the angle I'm going to take on that, which is I'm going to say no.
No,
by the
that
way,
you can't. No, what? Do you have to turn off BitLocker? So you're saying no. You don't have to turn off BitLocker.
Yes, I'm going to say no. You would have to turn off BitLocker to clone the drive. But I'm not saying you're wrong either. But I'm rather just referring to how I would answer this question. If I bring up an Acronis rescue disk, for example, and I'm going to clone a drive with Acronis will see if BitLocker or encryption is enabled, and if so, it will not proceed. But if I have a USB, like a docking station that's NVMe cloning, it's got 2 bays, then that does a bit-by-bit file copy, and it doesn't even care what's on the drive. Then in that case, I'm agreeing with you. You're right. But that's going to take an awfully long time. Today's drives are so big. To take a drive that's got BitLocker on it, clone it to another similarly sized or larger, because you can't go smaller on a clone, on using a hardware cloning device, boy, you better let that run overnight. And the other thing is, why would you want to? Like, as for the best practices, if you're a student learning to be a technician and I am your instructor, I'm not going to instruct you to process that customer request without disabling BitLocker. Would you? Why wouldn't you just disable BitLocker first? And if this is a data recovery operation, it's done. Like if we take a drive that's failed with BitLocker and we send it over to $300 data recovery, they've made it very clear we can do a bit-by-bit copy of this drive so that we can then open the sectors up and take a look, there's nothing to look at. It's all encrypted. They can't make heads or tails of it. So if it wasn't encrypted, then they'd have the original raw file system back after, say, a drive failure, and they're able to bit copy or bit by bit do a clone of that bad drive onto a recovery drive. Then they use special software to make heads or tails out of the file system on that recovery drive that is an exact clone, a forensic copy, something the law would do, the government would do if they were investigating you for a crime. And they can, if it's not BitLockered, they can pull that data back relatively simple. But the minute it's BitLockered, you're done. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're able to get the data off the drive or not, the data's worthless. So my question is, why would you simply not disable BitLocker?
And I have an answer.
Oh, good. Let's get back over here. We go.
Yeah. The reason why you would not disable BitLocker is it takes time for that to happen. And if you have a reason to have BitLocker active in the first place, that reason may still be present. And what is the reason why you're doing the clone? What is your end goal with this? So yeah, there can be reasons to not turn off the BitLocker. With Mac and Reflect, I have done image backups of BitLocker drives, and it informs me that it is a BitLocker drive. And I think in the occasions that I have done it, it has told me that it is going to do the backup without the files will not be encrypted. And now this is when I am working from an installed version of Mac and Reflect, not booted from a flash drive. So with an installed version, the files are accessible to Mac and Reflect. So it's doing a backup unencrypted, but it informs me that this is an encrypted drive. I do not have experience with trying to create a cloned image that is encrypted.
Well,
I think I've said that correctly to my experience.
If a client came to me, whatever this is worth, I'm just talking about me. They said, can you clone my drive, regardless of the reason? Yeah, no problem. They bring me the drive. First thing I do, I boot up Acronis. I don't care what's on the drive. I'm not going and looking at it. Acronis says this drive is encrypted. Then I boot up the computer. Then I'm making a phone call to the customer. Looks like you've got BitLocker on here. In order for me to clone your drive, I must remove BitLocker. There's no way for me to verify if my work is correct. If I simply do a clone and I trust that no data is corrupted and everything was copied, I don't roll dice and I don't have best wishes. I need confirmation and verification. If I'm putting my stamp of approval that this job is done, I need to confirm that. So usually customers don't have BitLocker on for any good reason. They're paranoid, schizophrenic, and think somebody wants their data when they don't. This is my personal experience. Why did you turn it on? Somebody told me it was a good idea. Okay, so why don't you just take it to them? You know what I mean? Like, why are you taking it to me? I get offended. Like, I might be a little too sensitive about it, but if the people you're listening to are so smart, why are you coming to me? Why, if you think what they have to tell you is valuable, why didn't it come? Why wouldn't you just, anyway? Let me turn the BitLocker off. I'll do this for you. If you don't want to do that, I cannot perform the work. I'll return the machine to you, and no charge, no harm, no foul. I absolutely must be 100% certain that the quality of my work is exact and precise. I'm not going to come back over, unless I made a mistake, over a corrupted file or be blamed or, and I have no way to prove it without turning BitLocker off. So that's a policy that I have personally. Now, technically, when you're asking, can you still do it with BitLocker on? I've never tried.
Yeah, and that's totally fair and good policy position on your part, and I totally support that you need to be 100% confident in what you're providing for them. Now, I wanted to add, though, I have come across computers that were encrypted that the client had no awareness that it was encrypted, and usually because they purchased a computer themselves, somebody else set it up, and major manufacturers, particularly with Windows Home editions, will come, and I think even with Pro, will come with BitLocker already engaged. And even if you're not signing in with a Microsoft account, the drive is already encrypted, and it will prompt you to sign into your Microsoft account so that your code can get saved, because they typically don't have them saved. Now, Sam Lazar in chat says that he always unencrypts them unless the client actually wants it. And I totally agree with that. I have oftentimes decrypted a drive without even discussing it with the client, without even telling about it, because I know the client well enough. There's no way that they wanted this or need this or did this. It was simply that they bought the computer, they turned it on, they went through the steps, and the drive is encrypted, and we don't have any reason to stay with that. So it's streamline, simplify, and turn it off. So
and I would say if somebody's in a line of work where they require that for governmental regulatory concerns, I don't advertise I do that. If I did, my rates would be twice as much. You'd be paying me 2 times more if I have to take on that accountability and that additional liability to my company to follow HIPAA, FINRA, and other government regulatory concerns. I would have to know more about them. I would have to become an expert in that field. That would make me more knowledgeable in that specific use case and business category. That means that I'm worth more money than the average tech because I have a specialty in that. And as a specialist, I can charge more money. But when it comes to everyday users who just want it because they want it, I would argue that they have every right as a customer to have anything the way you want it. And as an independent business, I have every right to say, I'm sorry, I cannot help you with that problem. And this becomes an issue only when customers don't take no for an answer. And I've had some customers who want me to do work I don't do. And it's not just like this, for example, but other things. And it's wrong for me to even call them customers, really, because in most cases, they're sort of fielding questions, trying to figure out if they want to hire me for the job. And they often think that they're doing me a favor by choosing me to do the work. Whereas I tend to think we're doing each other a favor, right? I appreciate the work, but if I do it wrong or I overcharge you, you're not going to come back again. Suddenly, I'm not doing you a favor anymore. So there's got to be a mutual benefit to us both. And customers will come back to me because they know I do a good job. I don't take too long, and I charge a very low price compared to competitors. And I don't want to have like a contract of a membership like a gym that once you sign the contract, it's impossible to get out of, and you have no choice but to call me. I don't want business like that. I want my customers coming back to me because they want to, not because they have to. In order for me to be able to assure that level of quality every single time, I have to put barriers up. I have to say, okay, this is what I'm good at. This is what I like. And this is what I'm willing to stake my reputation on. Now, if I waver from that, if I'm like, customer of mine recently switched out some networking equipment without telling me, but I'm supposed to manage their whole network. How can I manage it if they're making decisions? They don't tell me. I go in the office. I haven't been in there in a couple months because I'm doing everything remotely. And I got networking hardware from Ubiquity. I don't know a damn thing about it. I've tried logging into it. Everything's application-based. It's just horrible, horrible. Now, in a sense of a large corporation, I can understand the need for it. But this is a small company that got oversold by another tech. And I said, what's all this? Oh, yeah, we upgraded that stuff. What was wrong with what you had? Who knows, right? So the other tech they hired put this stuff in, probably charged them an arm and a leg, and then they don't even tell me. So I go in there, it's all different. I said, well, I hope you don't have any problems because you're going to be calling the other guy. I don't even know how to work on this. And I'm not going to learn how to work on it just for you. So, if there's a call for that kind of work and I have multiple people that have ubiquity routers that I have to learn how to use in order to gain that business, it's worth the investment. But just for one client to willy-nilly change things without telling me on a contract, it's quite offensive. So, I was kind of hanging there with my jaws hanging open. When did this happen? And turns out they now have somebody for their copy machine. They have another company for their phones. They have another company for their alarm. They have another company for their security cameras, which I think is the same company or the same person that oversold them on all this ubiquity. They have 3 or 4 ubiquity devices plus Wi-Fi devices and cameras. This had to be a 5-figure install. I haven't charged them 5 figures probably, and it would take us 3 years to get to 5. It would take us 4 years to get to 5 figures. So they spent all this with one tech. So is that my fault? Did I miss an opportunity? I could have gouged them. They had the money. They were easy to convince to sell them stuff that was over the top. No, I just wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So now they're asking me to support it. And I said, I'll do what I can. But I said, if I were you, I'd just hire the other guy. You don't need me anymore. Oh, no. We like you. We want to keep you. Well, I'll do what I can, but you're probably going to have to fall back on the other guy when it comes to the, anything serious happens. I can back up the router config and save it. So, I don't know what the guy's done in there. I'm not going to search through every menu and option and manually discern it, but I can back up the file. And if I have to replace it and restore the backup, I can put it back. I can do that, but that's not really fixing anything. And they did all this without so much as asking me what my opinion was, getting a quote for me to do the work. I just walked in one day. It was all different. So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say my suggestion for that situation between you and your client would be ask them, or say to them, I would be able to provide much better service for you at a better value if you let me replace that with equipment that I do know how to work with.
Had that discussion.
Oh, okay. How'd that go?
And he said, well, what would that take? And I said, well, here's the thing. I'm not recommending you do it because I know this cost you a lot of money. I'm looking around and I'm saying you had to have spent quite a lot of money. What it would take is for me to tear it all down, even though there's nothing wrong with it and everything's fine, and then buy cheaper equipment that will accomplish the same task, which doesn't make any sense. I told him, it doesn't make any sense because you just spent all this money. He's like, do you know how much it cost me? I go, no, but I'm sure it was a pretty penny. But for me to support it, I'd have to put my own equipment in. And in order to do that, I got to rip all that equipment out. And since that equipment is working for you and you don't have any problems with it, I'd just hire the other guy.
Yeah. How did that go? Did they choose to do that?
He says, I'm not going to hire the other guy.
Okay. Did you allow the client to make the decision whether to let you replace all the equipment or not? Or did you just make the decision for them?
In the discussion, he said, take out all that equipment. Do you know how much I paid? I go, that's why I'm saying, I'm not advising you to do that, but that's what you'd have to do for me to support it. Right? Like if you would have come to me before making this decision, I would have offered you an alternative to all of this that I could support, but I didn't even know you were in talks with anybody about anything. I thought everything was fine. So the best we can do, as far as I can tell, is just leave it be. I said, Mara has some experience with higher end equipment. She might be better suited to that, but he's very security conscious, and I said, if you don't mind me bringing her into the building with me, she's trustworthy. She knows what she's doing, and she might be able to figure out any ubiquity issues much easier than I will. Would you have a problem with that? Because I always go in there alone. He's very security conscious. And he goes, no, I'd be fine with it. And I said, okay, well then we'll do our best, right? If something happens, I will do my best. I'm not going to tell you I won't do it. I'm just telling you I have no idea how it's done. But between Mara and myself, we will we'll do everything we can to fix it should anything happen.
And you will be charging them for your time,
Yeah.
even if it's not an efficient time charge.
Well,
You
he's
should.
on a
You
retainer.
should.
He's on a retainer. So if it's a
That the
quick
retainer
fix,
wasn't counting on other equipment. You should
I'm
be
not nickel and
charging them
diming
more.
the guy. I know.
That's not nickel and dime. That's
You
a
are
significant
right,
expense.
but I don't want to. Here's the way I see it. If it's something that takes an hour or two of my time and it happens once a year, I'm not going to nickel and dime. If it's a big issue and I'm really
Right.
struggling to get it resolved, and then we have another issue after that, we're revisiting the entire contract. At the end of the year, when the contract expires, I need to sit down with them and say, here's what we've done this year prior to other years, and we have to adapt the contract accordingly. So you're not wrong. I'm way too gentle that way.
Yes, you are.
I'm not
You
a good
are.
businessman.
You need to get tougher on that. In my
I
opinion.
need to get a Doug
In my
Betts over here
opinion.
to get the
Yeah.
kneecaps broken.
Yeah, it's an awesome thing that they say, no, we want you to do it because we're comfortable with you. And I've had that with many other things. You know, I've been asked to deal with phones and copy machines and yada yada other stuff, and I tell them alarm systems, video surveillance, and I tell them, look, that's not my area of expertise. I don't really know that product. But if you want me to, I will. It's going to be more expensive, I think, through me than if you go through the actual vendor. That's not always true. And they say, that's okay. We've tried working through them. That's very frustrating. It's aggravating. We want you to do it if you're willing. And I have sent them $1,000, $2,000 time charges that I thought was very, very unproductive time. Stumble bumming around trying to figure it out, but I feel okay with those charges because I warned them about it and they haven't had one lick of complaint about it.
There's a pretty standard operational contract that I've always followed, which is this is what the contract includes with regards to maintenance. So your antivirus, your updates, making sure the windows are, temp files are cleaned up, doing the backups, making sure the NAS is updated. It goes on and on. What I don't do is also in the contract. This does not include any moves, additions, or deletions of computers, equipment, or people. In other words, adding email accounts, taking away email accounts as people get hired or leave the company. The company moves and now they're moving equipment. This is not included. That's where the regular hourly rate applies. And there's a 4-hour service level agreement, meaning that's pretty industry standard. If you call and you open a ticket, say you get my voicemail and I'm busy, like right now, we're in an interview. If I check my phone after this interview and I got a voicemail waiting, we're not going to be on 4 hours, is what I'm saying. So I will always be able to meet that 4-hour service level agreement, which means I will respond to any support call within 4 hours, business hours. If your support call is at 4:30 in the afternoon, I'll probably still get back to you, but the contract states very clearly 4-hour SLA. The maintenance contract does not include moves, deletions, or changes, and it's pretty boilerplate. It's pretty standard, and yet so many times the customers, they keep renewing the contract, but they're not rereading it. And over years, they forget that stipulation was ever in place. And so what I'll do in the spirit of customer service is I will help them rather than enforce rules and say, well, look, this doesn't include your home computer. Well, do I bill them for that? Or I go, well, let's take a look at it. I click remote, look into it. Fix, I can't print. Now they can print. I'm not going to bill them for it. I'm going to chalk that up as the cost of advertising to give them a reason to not look elsewhere. I took care of you. The problem with the downside of that is then they think that's expected. They think that's all included because I took care of it. And so the more that this goes on, the more they expect it. And then when we end up getting into a point where I'm like, enough is enough. You're taking advantage. They go, no, that's what you do. That's what we sign up for. I go, no, it's been so long since they've looked at the contract. And if I have to tell you I'm not going to do it because it's not in the contract, read the contract. If I was the customer, I'd give me the middle finger and take my business somewhere else. So there's a question of how much am I willing to throw in to keep the customer happy, or at least to avoid giving the customer any reason to leave. And I'm not saying I'm right, like that's a good business decision, but it helps me sleep well at night, whether or not they're aware I went above and beyond, or they think that they paid for it.
It's almost time to pick up your child.
Go ahead.
I thought that was me. Do you
Yeah,
have
it's
a
a one.
mini me in there?
No, and that's when I was picking up my grandson on Tuesdays.
Ah,
I
So-
forgot that reminder was even there.
well, that's why it's
Sorry.
a reminder. Anyway, I on the business side of things, I'm terrible. Clearly, I'm terrible. I just want to do the work. I don't want to do the paperwork. I don't want to do the billing. I don't want to have to add nickel and dime stuff on when pretty much everybody else does it. It's not like I would be unique in that way. I'm not comfortable. It gives me the creepies.
All right. Can I respond to some chat messages?
Yes,
that I'm delinquent
please.
on? Jim KJ3N, I'll tell you one thing you missed, as I mentioned you near the beginning of the show when there was something that I was overthinking. And I just mentioned that you would accuse me of overthinking that. And then I'm moving on to some things that people tried to ask me. I'm going to try to hit them quickly. Let's see. Zavi Minor asks, did I check to see what happened to his wife's computer? Actually, his wife called me this morning. I'm referring to the wife of the computer that got overheated. Well, she's not married to the computer. She's married to her husband that has that computer. But, oh, Doug. Anyway, her computer's still operational, and I have not returned the replacement computer. But when I do that, I'm going to have a look at her computer and see if that plastic on the back is straight and ordinary the way it ought to be. So that was for Zvi. And I've given some points to people for exclamation mark C's that they've given me. So now I'm trying to go to the next one to respond to. Where to go? I'm searching them, and oh, I know why. It's zoomed wrong, isn't it? Yeah, there. Trying to get to it. Do that and that. Oh, there we go. Let's see. I'll respond to John Downey about Windows servers. Then there's John Downey says he's taken a class on cybersecurity. In many instances, the drives need to be encrypted, especially if you have to be HIPAA or FINRA compliant. Yeah, so I have a couple comments on that. Is the financial services company. We do encrypted backups there. And the other comment is I have a few clients that do cybersecurity insurance for cybersecurity, whatever, you know what I mean. And the renewal applications often have check boxes about, do you do this? Do you do this? Do you do this? Well, we're not doing everything that it asks on those questionnaires. So I tell the client that I'm answering these honestly, even when it sounds like we could be doing a better job, and it may or may not cause a problem with renewing your application. So far, it never has caused a problem, but we've been getting more and more compliant with those questions just because they've been on the questionnaires. And I expect that those applications will get more stringent. Now, I say that, but I got to say, I've had occasions where my client has told me that the broker was unable to renew the application with the same provider, the same underwriter. And they've had to go to a different underwriter. But I did not get feedback from that insurance broker as to whether it had anything to do with the way we answered the questions. And the reason why I'm very concerned about being accurate on those questions is because if there is a cybersecurity event where an insurance payout is warranted, If there's an investigation and they find that we lied on the application, that might invalidate the claim. And I absolutely don't want to be in the hot seat if that happens. Now, then there's one more here for me to respond to, I think. John Downey asking, do I charge clients time and material? Yes, I am completely time and material. I do not do any contracts. I have zero interest in doing contracts. When a client hires me, they sometimes say, do you need to come out and do an onboarding? No, I don't. When you have an issue that you want me to do something with or a question, just call me. We do it. I send you a bill. If you're unhappy with my services, you don't pay the bill, and that ends our relationship. No contract, no retainers. And I've never worried about where is my next money to cover my bills coming from. I've done fine with that. So that's my list of questions that are out there. You're muted. I'm not hearing you, Carey. What's going on? I'm not hearing Carey.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
My bad. So I'm a nervous Nelly. If I don't have a guaranteed income coming in, or knowing that bills are in the mail, how am I going to pay the rent at the end of the month? So for me, those retainers, they work a couple different ways. One, I discount a bulk purchase of hours in the similar way that if you went to Costco and you buy in bulk, you pay less than if you went to a normal market and bought normal quantities. The bigger the quantity, the cheaper the price. So I have them buy in bulk 3 months worth of hours that previously they were not on a retainer. So initially, we always start by saying if we're a good fit and what kind of needs the company has. Because I'm self-employed, I cannot take on one company that needs me all the time. There won't be any time for anybody else. And then I might as well just work for them directly. I'm no longer self-employed, because if I don't have time to service anybody else and they realize that, then they can dictate how much they're going to pay me, or they'll find somebody else. And who am I to argue when I have nowhere else to fall back? So I like to have different eggs in different baskets. So what I'll do is I'll work for them a little bit and say, and I'm billing them hourly. And after a few months, things are going well. I kind of average out how often they call and what kind of service they need. And I make the proposal. What if I could save you some money? What if I could tell you as the business owner exactly how much your IT labor budget's going to be for the entire year? What if I also charged you a discount on the hourly rate, and you were a priority call when you call because you're a retainer customer? If there's other people that are not retainers, you will jump ahead of the queue right to the first or first available to prioritize your calls and support needs. And what that means for me, and the reason I offer it, and I'm full disclosure to my clients, being self-employed, I never quite know how much money I'm going to make. So if I can sign you into a retainer, I have a fixed amount of income I can rely on. You have a fixed budget with regards to labor that you can rely on. If I tell you a job took 2 hours, did it really take 2 hours, or am I milking the job in order to get more money out of you? How would you know? The idea here is that if I can get in and out quickly, the faster I can solve your problem, the more money in that retainer I get to keep. However, if I have to keep coming back because I'm working too quickly and not actually fixing the problem, it's costing me money. So every time I have to come out and service your location, it's costing me money. I have no motivation for that to take longer than it should take, and you have no reason to doubt that I am milking that job. So, I mean, you asked me like, why the retainer? And I'll tell you, for a half an hour, the way I see it, where it benefits me and it benefits them with all of these reassurances that I think give everybody peace of mind. They know exactly what their IT budget, labor budget is. I know how much I'm making that year from that client. And they know that I'm going to get in and get out as quickly as possible because that's all coming out of the money they prepaid. And if we go over that, I don't bill them for it. Now, if we keep going over that regularly, something changes and they've got a new piece of equipment or a new employee that's causing a lot of trouble, and we can't get that sorted in a reasonable amount of time, and this is the new normal now, then we have to revisit the amount of the retainer so that it levels off with what they're actually using. If I'm making way more money, like if they just aren't calling for 6 months, but they've paid 6 months of retainer, and this goes on and it looks like it's not going to change, we would revisit to go the other way too and say, you guys are paying me not to do anything. I mean, I'll keep you on the retainer, but at this point, if you're not utilizing my services but twice a year, it doesn't need to be this much money. And then it also depends on what I'm doing for them. I'm including their backups, which includes offsite backups, which means if the building burns down, if somebody breaks into the building at night and steals all their equipment, I've got a copy of your data. It's not in the cloud. It's here in my hands that I can deliver to you on a moment's notice, even if it's a hotel. Let's say your building burns down, or let's say you get burglarized and they clean you out. You come into the office, you're not expecting anything to be any different, and you're cleaned out. I can have you back up and running with spare computers, spare switches, some network cables. We can operate out of your house if you want. I think that's a hell of a guarantee. And no customer, I'm proud to say, in my entire career has ever lost any data or ever had any downtime that was anything other than an individual workstation. Like, it's not like their whole system went down. It's never happened, not once. And I don't know how many people can boast that, but I put all of these contingencies in place. And boy, I'll tell you what, you almost never have to fall back to my copy of the backup. It only takes once, and it did happen. I had a customer with an older NAS. I think it was one of those Seagate Black Armors, and just overnight, it just corrupted the whole NAS. The whole thing was corrupted. Everything was gone. And I said, we got to recover from the backup. And the minute we did that, that customer has a whole new appreciation for me having a copy of that data now, because they understood it before. But after that happened and they lost 100% of everything for no apparent reason, just came in one day, the whole set was corrupted. And it was like, I can get this back in a couple hours. We'll get you a new NAS, put some drives in it, and then we'll copy off of the backup back onto the new NAS. And they were down a day, basically 6 hours. Back up and running the next day like nothing had ever happened. Couple of missing files, but overall, the heart attack was, the history of the company, not what they did this week. So I think for what I charge, to give you the customer that peace of mind and that guarantee, for me to personally take on that liability, I am way undercharging. So when a customer says, I think we're going to go somewhere else, I think you're charging too much. And I've done all this work for free because I didn't nickel and dime. I've done moves and changes and deletions. I have done everything to not complain, to say, hey, I got to get more money for this. I've kept their rate the same for 10 years, never upgraded their rate. They paid me the same every 3 months for 10 years. And they said to me, I think we're paying you too much. We're going to go a different direction. What? They said, well, how do we know you're doing anything? We don't see you. Yeah. I go, well, because I'm working remotely. And this is prior to the pandemic. And these are older business owners. They said, well, we're not, how do we know?
Yeah. Well, and that goes to your comment during this thing. How do they know that in my style that I'm not milking it and charging more than it is? Well, your clients are complaining the same of that with your strategy. Now, the way my clients know that I'm not overcharging, in my opinion, is the number of charges they get on their bills that are very, very small amounts. And the description was kind of, in some cases, a very important issue that they easily, if I was charging for the value that fix was to their business and the value that it was to reduce that amount of frustration and downtime their employee was having, it was worth far more than what they actually paid for it. So if I was going to be, hiding the amount of time that I actually spent on it, they wouldn't be seeing these low time charges for significant fixes. So that's my answer to that piece. Now I want to respond to something that Barry Klein makes a comment on your chat. Says, when I do something similar as to what Carey does regarding freebies, I put it on an invoice with amount and then add a courtesy credit to let them know it was above and beyond. I do that.
Yeah.
There are times when I decide that I want to discount this, and I will put it on their invoice and show the amount of that charge. And then on the next, well, I do it a few different ways. Sometimes on the next line, I'll put courtesy credit and it'll be that same exact amount. Or maybe in the description of the item, I will say time reduced by 50%. I'll put some kind of a notation in there that I softened that charge, because sometimes there are things that where it takes unreasonably long and I don't feel okay about charging them full bore for it.
I do the same thing. I will do something that's not included. And it's sort of a passive aggressive way of telling the customer, I did this work at this price on the invoice. And then below that, a credit that the work was done as a courtesy minus. So it'll have a value. So did this work $75, discount courtesy to customer, one time only, negative $75. It's so stupid. I mean, it's just, so Mara's doing all my paperwork for me. Thank God. Because just pay me, let me do the work. Why do we got to do all this paperwork? You know, if there's, look, it's a retainer, it's a fixed price. What's the rocket science here? Take the one retainer, just keep Xeroxing it every 3 months. It's always the same. I had one client who specifically asked me not to give him those invoices. He goes, look, I don't know what you guys, you tech guys, you're like, this is server work and it's this much an hour and this is something else. I don't know what any of this means. I said, no problem. I won't send you any of those invoices. We'll just do the retainer. But that same customer 3 years later goes, how do I know what you're doing? I said, don't you remember you asked me specifically not to send you invoices because you couldn't make heads or tails of what any of the descriptions meant? No. Okay.
On the subject of increasing rates, I am intending to increase rates at the end of the year. And I have done that a couple different ways in the past. In the last couple of rate increases I've done, I've just typically on the first of the year, right around that time, just started charging the higher amount. No announcement, no notification that rates are going up due to yada yada yada. Trying to explain that, because in the past I'm an overthinker. Yes, Jim, I know. I'm an overthinker and stress about the wording. And I just one year I said, you know what, I'm just going to try doing this. And I don't increase rates every year, but it's about time to. I'm not even sure how many years that it's been. It's just going to go up $5 an hour, and yeah, it's just going to show up on their invoice. And judging by past experience, I'm probably not going to hear a comment from anybody.
You know, I probably make a bigger deal out of it. It's quite possible. Yeah, I've got a client that's been with me 15 years. I've never raised his rate. This is the same client who I said, you know, you should hire the other guy. They said, no, we want to keep you. I have never raised his rate. I like to reward loyalty and make sure I'm giving them a reason to not leave. I bet you I could raise that guy's rate by 1/3 and he wouldn't bat an eye. But at the same time, he also isn't offering anything. He's not saying, here's a little Christmas bonus for you. Prior to the pandemic, they used to have Christmas parties. They used to invite me. I hated going to those because I'm just socially awkward. You know, but I felt obligated to go. They don't invite me anymore. I think they stopped during the pandemic, and then I think they picked it up again. And I'm not saying a word because I'm like, you know what? One less obligation for me.
I'm on the same page.
What's that?
I'm on the same page with you on that.
I'm flattered that they thought of me and they sent me the invite, but then I feel obligated. And then I'm there and I'm visibly, you can just tell I'm not comfortable. My body language is very stiff and closed in, and I'm just, I'm not confident. I only know a couple of people there, and we've already talked. So yeah, and it's a long drive, it's a spirit of the holidays. Okay, I'll go. And then I get back and I'm just kicking myself on how I could have been more social and more this, that, and the other. And man, I don't need that frustration and aggravation. So I think they're still doing the holiday parties again. And these were pretty lavish. They'd rent out a big ballroom at a hotel and have it catered and open bar. And I'm not a drinker. I'm a fussy eater. Most of what they serve, I will not eat, unless they're serving chicken nuggets and pretzels, hot dogs. No, it's usually really fancy stuff. I won't eat it. And it just puts me in an awkward place. This company once got me one of those fruit bouquets. What are they called? Edible arrangements.
Oh.
And it was there at the conference table, this beautiful, it's all cut fruit looking like flowers. And they said, "Oh, we got this for you." I said, I'm already in my head. I'm already having the conversation. I really appreciate that, but you should not have done that. I want you guys to enjoy that. Us, but we bought it for you. I go, I'm a really fussy eater. It was really nice of you, and I can't thank you enough. It was a very thoughtful thing, but I won't eat that. I don't eat that. So I would like you to eat it for me. Everybody here, company, please dig in and thank you so much. And they never did that again.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hate being backed into that corner. There's an expectation. We got you something, and I'm supposed to say, "Oh, thank you. Let me just dive in." No, I didn't want it. You shouldn't have bought it. I appreciate the thought. I'm not taking it. You could have just added that to the check. I could have taken that easily. But since the pandemic, a lot of things changed. The guy who said, "I don't see you anymore," or "I don't see you, so therefore you don't work," all of a sudden he understood what remote access was, or remote working from home was. Now he got it. The people that bought the thing, the little bouquet, they only did that once. But I just like doing the work, right? Let's talk about business. Let's talk about what we can do to improve what's going on here at the office. What would you like to see improved? Let's keep it business. And when it comes to like hanging out after work or something, that's your choice. If you want to do that, I'm not that social, so don't take it personally if I politely decline. But I also know that many people that are in high-end like executive positions will play golf and make deals on the golf course. And if you want to play that game, if you want to work your way up in corporate America, you best learn to play golf. No. But I had a friend, got that college degree that corporations want. His mother insisted, you need to learn to play golf. You need to start hanging out with those people that make those decisions. That's a quicker way up to the top. And I was just like, this guy has no interest in golf, but now he has an interest in golf. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't his idea I can't wait to play golf. It was, this is what I need to do socially to work up in my life, in my work life, to move up. The regular low pay workers, they're not on the golf course. The people on the golf course are the bosses and the executives. And I never thought of it. And when he pointed it out to me, I said, "Oh, I'm not sure I'm willing to do that to get ahead."
Right.
Now, if it's miniature golf and I've got to hit the ball through the windmill, count me in. As long as there's chicken nuggets and pretzels, I'll be there. Let's see the chat room. We got a lot of people hanging out here. If you guys have questions for us, feel free. We'll do what we can to answer questions and address any concerns or questions you have to the best of our abilities. And I'm just looking through there now and see if I find anything.
While you're looking, I'll address one. John Downey says, "Sounds like your bills are an activity report. I've requested my subcontractor to provide weekly updates. Well, that second sentence I'm not interested in, but the first part is my bills. Yeah, they are an activity report. And sometimes I actually go back on my invoices to see what was the solution to a particular problem on a computer, because not only do my time entries on the invoice say what I did, but in most occasions when it was a obscure or difficult problem, I'll actually put what the solution was on the invoice. Now, many times they get an invoice that shows a start time and a stop time. Maybe it was 5 minutes where the end user was having trouble, and I put on the invoice, problem was solved by having them restart the computer. Because the bosses, when they read the invoice, I want them to know, look, you got charged this bit because your people aren't taking enough initiative to just restart the computer before they call me. And really, none of them, very rarely do the bosses say something to employees about that or have anything about it, because they get a 5-minute charge. But I'm letting them know about that.
I get a little bit of people not talking to each other at the office. So, for example, a client called me and said, my email's not working. Do you know if our email is down?
Oh, yeah.
And I said, well, let me check that while you're on the phone. Hold on. Let me log in here and let me send you an email. Okay, it goes. Let me see if I get anything back as under, I got the phone here and listening, and yeah, looks like your email's down. So let's dive into this and see what's going on. Hang up the phone. Phone almost immediately rings again. It's another employee from the same company. Hey, is our email down? I said, yeah, I just got a call from Stephanie, and it does appear the email's down. I'm looking into it now. Okay, thank you. Okay, click. And I start looking into it. A few minutes later, ring, another employee from the same company. Do you know if our email's down? I said, do you guys not talk to each other? Do you know Stephanie's called me? Do you know Jones called me? I mean, I've already discussed this with 2 of your employees. Is there any way that I can get you to please let everybody, would you please, yes, your email's down. Will you do me a favor after this call? Will you visit everybody in their office and let them know that the email is down and I'm working on it? Because everybody in the office is calling me and each person doesn't know the other person's already called me. Oh yeah, we're sorry about that. Okay, thank you. So I start looking into this email problem and I call, you're gonna love this story. I call Microsoft. I say, look, the domain is registered with Microsoft. I don't know who set this domain up, but can you tell me if the service is down? And this really rude female employee says to me, I can't tell you. What do you mean? Well, you're not the owner of the account. I go, the owner of the account doesn't understand how computers work. He's the one who pays the bills. That's why his name is on it. I'm their computer technician. They called me because, look, I'm not asking you for any private information. I'm not asking you to disclose anything about the customer, the location, any passwords, or to make any changes. All I want to know is if you can confirm that the email's up or down. She goes, I've already told you, I can't tell you that. I said, can I speak to a supervisor? I don't have a supervisor. What do you mean you don't have a supervisor? So you're not going to let me talk to somebody else? No, they're just going to tell you the same thing. Okay, but maybe they won't. So that's why I'd like to talk to somebody else. No, there's nobody to transfer you to. I go, what's your name? And then she tells me her name. And I said, what's your last name? She goes, well, I'm not going to tell you that. I go, what's your Microsoft employee number? And she gives me her Microsoft employee number. I said, the problem with phone support is you don't know who you're talking to on the end of the phone. You don't know who I am. I could be your boss. I could be hired by your company to measure your customer service as a secret shopper. I could be an investor in Microsoft. You have no idea who's on the other end of this phone right now. Are you sure you want to stick with this line that you don't want to transfer me to a supervisor? She goes, I am the supervisor. There's no one to transfer you to. So there's just the supervisor, I guess, answered the support call. And you won't tell me. All I'm asking, is the email up or down? That's all I want to know. Can't tell you that. I've already told you this. And then she hung up on me. So I reached out to a few contacts that I know at Microsoft. I reached out to one in particular. I said, could you do me a favor and tell me the employee's name with this badge number? And they said, here you go, Carey. So then I went on Facebook and I found her, or who I thought was her, and I sent her a friend request. But what I had forgotten was my profile picture was a picture of me pointing a gun with a laser right at the camera.
Oh.
So the next day I get a call from somebody who claims to be from Microsoft Security who says I threatened one of their employees. I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, this person claims you threatened him. I said, the person that so first of all, I did not know that I had the right person on Facebook, but I don't consider a Facebook request a threat. Like I wasn't even thinking about my profile picture. I just sent her a friend request to let her know.
Yeah.
But you just confirmed I got the right person by calling me, and because there could be other people with her name. I was guessing. Right. And he goes, well, we're going to have a talk with the person who exposed that information. I go, dude, I have lots of contacts at Microsoft. You can talk to whoever you want to. That information is available to me because of how deeply ingrained I am with Microsoft. It didn't just come from one person. And I'll just go somewhere else. I said, did you listen to the phone call? He goes, no. I go, do you normally call your customers and accuse them of threatening your employees without so much as doing a modicum of verification? She told me she didn't have a supervisor. Does she not have a supervisor? No, she has a supervisor. I go, well, don't you think you should do something about that? He says, don't you tell me how to run my company. I go, you're right. My apologies. Please go listen to that call. And if you think your employee was in the right, then please let me know. But a Facebook friend request is not a threat. And I never heard back from that guy again. So now I'm digging deeper and deeper and deeper. Long story short, they didn't pay their bill.
Yeah.
And they were sent the invoice numerous times.
Yeah.
If you don't pay it, hey, just a reminder, this is due. Oh, you're getting closer. We're going to shut your service down. Okay, the deadline. So finally, I figured out what happened. And all of this, right? And then they say to me, this company says, we have a bone to pick with you. We'd like to come in and have a conference room roundtable with all the employees. They have some very serious concerns about the support you're offering us. No problem. I'd love an opportunity to discuss it. We went to the company. We went into the conference room, all the tables around. Yeah, all the chairs around the table. Everybody's sitting down. They're all basically attacking me. I'm there, and I've been bullied. I've dealt with this kind of let's gang up on them kind of thing. And I said, first of all, I'm on your side. I'm here to help you. That's why you hire me. But I shouldn't have to have 3 phone calls coming in over the same problem. I shouldn't have to tell you that you didn't pay your bill. So what other complaints do you have? And, this is not going well because let's face it, I'm telling it as it is. I'm not sugarcoating it. So one of the employees goes, why do we pay you to do your job? What do you mean? Well, I called you with a server problem and you told me to go in the server room and turn the server off and back on again. Isn't that what we pay you for? He said, you called me on a Saturday at 8 o'clock at night during tax season. And I assume the reason you were at the office on a Saturday at 8 o'clock at night was you were trying to meet the deadline for the IRS and you need that server up and running. And that's an old server. I told you guys to replace the server for 2 years. You're not replacing it. It needs to be rebooted from time to time. Now I can get in the car and drive for 45 minutes across town to push the button for you. And you can be down waiting for me. By the way, it was Saturday and I was at a party and I left that party early. It was a social event. So I was even further away than I normally am. Get in the car, drive for 45 minutes just to push a button. Is that what you want? You want to just be down for 45 minutes waiting for me to push a button for you? She goes, yeah, I didn't need that server right then. I could have done other things waiting for you. Then why did you call? Why did you call me at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday if it could have waited till Monday? It's inferred this is an emergency. So, she ended up turning it off and back on again, and then everything was fine. I ended up leaving that event for no reason. I didn't turn around and go back. My evening was ruined. So they're pissed off. I'm pissed off. What else you got? Well, I had overtime because of you. No. You asked me, you called me 15 minutes before 5, and you asked me if I would update the software. And I said, we have to go to every computer. And at this point, I needed their assistance to get logged in. I said, or you guys can wait till the weekend. I'll come in and do it myself. No, I want it done now. Okay. So the boss is saying, why did you have an hour of overtime? And she says, because of Carey. I said, no, it wasn't because of me. I asked her, do you want to do this now or do you want to wait for the weekend? She insisted I do it right now. So to throw me under the bus, she goes, I did not. I said, I have emails. I said, you know what I love about emails? This is all written down. There's no sense in us saying what you said versus what I said. I'll just go copy the email and print it out right now. And then the boss, he slammed his hand down. He goes, damn it, Carey, you're not listening. And then his daughter was like, calm down. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? What is happening? I said, look, when I first got hired here, you guys had nothing but praise. You're like, oh, I can't believe how much better you are than our previous IT guy. I can't believe how much faster and how much better everything is running and how you've solved all these problems. And now we're on year number 2 and I'm the devil. What changed? And the guy's daughter says to me, it's your fault. I can't wait to hear this. What did I do to cause this complete change of attitude? You set our expectations higher. Just,
yeah.
What? So when me and this company decided to go different directions, I think you'll understand we both mutually agreed. There was no hard feelings. It's like, hey, I'm sorry it's not working out. But I never fired a client. But if they want to leave, I didn't try and convince them otherwise. Oh, man, I love that story because it's so absurd. Didn't pay the bill. I friended somebody on Facebook who said I threatened him, and I could not make heads or tails of that until I looked at my profile picture and went, oh, I could see. Okay, that makes sense now. And then for security to confirm I had the right person, I'm like, oh, that's the dumbest thing you could have possibly done. Is if you're worried about your employee security, why did you just confirm I got the right person? Because I wasn't sure until you told me. What kind of a moron are you? So yeah, this one client is the bulk of my preposterous stories.
I had let's see, I'm looking at my time slips from this morning. And the wife of the gentleman who has the B-Link computer that overheated. The reason why she was calling when I saw her on my phone, I was thinking, uh-oh, maybe he's using her cell phone, or maybe her computer has developed a problem. So I get on the phone with her, and yeah, her computer has a problem. It has the fake virus alerts. So she was searching for something to do with lottery numbers. I guess I don't play the lottery. I guess you can search for a lottery number to see if it's a hit, and that's probably a good place for fake virus alerts to compromise websites. And anyway, so she had these fake virus alerts, and so I connected to her computer, was able to click on I could not. One of my techniques is Control-Shift-Escape to bring up Task Manager to end there, but that would not work. So with Log Me and Rescue, it has a 3-button salute button I can click on to bring up the the list of menu choices. One of them is Task Manager. So I went into that and ended task for Google Chrome, and then, or was it, I don't know if it was Edge or Chrome. And that stops the fake virus alerts instantly. And then for a safe measure, we restart the computer, and I explained to her about how that happens. And she's had this happen before. Then let's see. So that was one with, let's see, there's one. Yeah. So a $9.58 charge with
You sent out an
5-minute
invoice for
call.
$9.58?
No, I create a time slip. They don't get an invoice until they have 3 months worth of time slips.
Oh.
So the invoice will have that
You-
charge on there, but it's very quick to enter that time slip.
Okay.
I'll read the time slip to you. It says 11:23 to 11:28 a.m. Gives her name, phone, and remote support to recover from fake virus message on screen when searching for lottery numbers. And so when they see that invoice, they will know what the experience was, because otherwise they're going to forget what it was. I dictate that, so it's voice to text. So it's very quick and easy to do. So that was 5 minutes and $9.58. Then there's a charge for a law office at 3:20 a.m. this morning to 3:39. So that's 19 minutes. And it's titled Windows Updates, Connected Remote to File Server and the Boss's Computer. I actually used her name. To defer Windows updates for 5 weeks, and sent an email to her explaining the unexpected remote connection. This is the boss, the senior attorney in a law firm, who absolutely will not routinely restart her computer and will not routinely close programs. So her computer and the server in that office, I routinely manually do the updates on a schedule. And this is, I think, the only one that I do this for. All the others, I allow them to happen automatically. And the reason for that is because she leaves all this stuff open. So what will happen if it's prompting for restarting the computer, it'll prompt that for a period of time. She will continue to ignore it. And sometime down the road, it will restart the computer, even during business hours, even when she has a bunch of stuff open. I have seen that happen. So to prevent that, what I do is I connect her computer. I let her know. She closes down all her apps for this appointed time that I will install the updates. But what happened is, last time I did that was on a Saturday, and I prefer to do the deferral of updates on Sundays, because you can only defer for 5 weeks at a time. So if I do the deferral on Saturday, that means 5 weeks down the road, I'm going to have to do her updates on Saturday. If she works on Saturday or Sunday, she could wind up having some difficulty. So my intention was to reconnect her computer a few days later and defer the updates. I forgot this morning, wee hours of the morning, 3:20 a.m. Well, 3 a.m. probably. I'm laying awake in bed because I can't sleep for whatever reason. And I realized, oh crap, today is Windows updates, and I haven't deferred that computer yet. So I got up, connected to her computer and the server, deferred updates for 5 weeks for both of them. Sent her an email, because she's going to see a message on her screen that I was connected. And she's a person that I particularly want to let her know why I was connected at a time when she wasn't expecting me to. So anyway, that was a $36.42 charge.
I have a client just like that. One employee in the building who's second to the boss likes to have 37 Excel spreadsheets open, Outlook, multiple Chrome browsers. And I said, it's very difficult for me to go in there and do any updates, because when I go to shut the computer down, it says, do you want to save? Do you want to save? Do you want to save? I don't know if I'm supposed to answer yes or no to this. So I just answer no. This is the weekend, right? I'm there on the weekend. And she's the only one in the office who does this. And I finally said to the main administrative assistant there that I said, this is a serious security concern. People can look through the windows. All these files are open. And I go, I see a lot of stuff on the desktop. It's not getting backed up. I don't know if it's, I'm just telling you, if it's not on the server, it's not getting backed up. So when I have to do any updates to her computer, I stop doing them. I said, so her computer, the person that uses, the most of everything all at once is the one that's getting the least updates, who probably needs them more than anybody else, because I don't like closing things down and saying, don't save and cancel. And just when you think you closed them all, there's another Excel spreadsheet. There's another Excel spreadsheet. How long have these been open? How is she finding them? Is she just not aware that she can close them? There's multiple PDFs open, multiple web tabs are open, and I'm closing, and she's got Spotify running, and I'm closing all this stuff. And, she's second to the boss. She's second in line. So I can't really say anything. And one time they called me and she said, and she doesn't like me. It's pretty clear. She says, all the pictures went away. This is the call. What do you mean all your pictures went away? Let me log in remotely. Just show me. She goes into a pictures folder, and instead of pictures, she's got icons. Oh, well, that's your view settings. You go to view and you change always show thumbnails instead of icons, and you check that box. But what I'm curious about is who changed it. She goes, what? I go, well, does anybody else in the office have this problem? No. Okay, so did you change this? I didn't change anything. Okay, look, I'm not saying you did. What I am saying is this doesn't change itself. So either a piece of software you've installed, some change you've made to the computer, some update you've installed. I just want you to know, this doesn't happen on its own. And it's just this one computer, and it's in the view settings, likely because someone turned performance mode on. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I just want you to know. I'm just telling you. I'm not blaming you. This is not a setting that changes itself. So something that was installed, or somebody else sat here and did this. So I'm going to turn it back on for you. But because I don't know why, I can't guarantee it's not going to happen again. But since it's only this computer in the entire office, it's something to do with this computer or someone who's used it. So just so you know, because they always want to know why. And then I haven't talked to her since. I think she does everything she can to not call me. Everybody else in the office loves me, but boy, her and she's the one that leaves all that stuff open. And she's the one who, I guess I'm not going to update her computer because I'm afraid of closing all that stuff. And every time I have closed that stuff down, not once has she ever called me to complain on Monday. Hey, I left, 57 things open on Friday. Now so this last week I went over there and I upgraded her to Windows 11 along with 3 other employees. So obviously I had to shut everything down. I thought, oh man, I can't wait for Monday. Not a peep, not a word. So maybe it's good. Maybe it's good she doesn't want to comment. Or maybe she's on vacation this week and she just left on vacation with all those windows and tabs open. But I had to shut all that down to get Windows 11 installed, and then the Windows updates, and then reboot again. I was sure my phone was going to ring off the hook on Monday, and I'm glad to be wrong.
2 things on my mind. Zavi Manor says I think it was probably in your chat because he's addressing you. It's 12:41 p.m. Says Doug has fired several clients in the past. This is what he said in the past. I only recall reporting one client that I've fired, but I've said that several times. Maybe that's what he's thinking. But yeah, I had one that was just absolutely keeping me up at night with frustration and just upset over his smart ass attitude.
Sounds like my kind of guy.
young kid, just a few years out of college. His stepfather handed the business over to him, so now he's the boss, calling all the shots. His stepfather and his mother work in the company, and actually he bosses them around. Very, very difficult person. So I wound up firing that office. However, his stepfather and his mother still call me to get help under the table. And I send an invoice to the stepfather. He says, "Yep, that's fine. That's fine. I'm going to pay it."
It's always the family members, by the way. That
ugh.
one company, it was the owner's daughter. The other
Oh, yeah,
company,
you were mentioning.
it's the guy's son. And the employees generally don't like working with the kids because the kids act entitled and the rules of the office don't apply to them, and they didn't have to work to achieve their position like everybody else did. But it's always the kids of the owners. Always.
Yeah.
I don't fire clients. I just don't believe in it. What
I
will
I wouldn't say that's a regular or policy thing for me, but it was damaging my life too much.
No, I understand
Yeah.
why. I'm saying
And they were a big money client to me. It wasn't an easy choice. And they were friends. As a matter of fact, this kid,
that's painful.
I went to his high school graduation party at their home. These are people that I consider dear friends, the stepfather and the mother anyway. And I actually helped this kid through college. He would call me for help with his computer classes because he just couldn't get it. So I have a major long history with this family.
That changes a lot for me. Like, not only would I not fire clients, but when it's that close and you're betrayed like that, or they turn on you, that is the worst feeling in the world. Like, that is,
but
yeah,
he didn't,
that takes it.
No. He didn't turn on me. He's just has this passive aggressive, says remarks to manipulate and force more blood out of a turnip. I mean, he had employee turnover, just turning over and over. He couldn't keep front office staff because he just was such a taskmaster. Yeah,
I'd still consider it betrayal of lack of respect and courtesy.
Okay, fine.
That's just me.
It wasn't personal to me. It's the way he is with everybody. And I just said,
but he didn't treat you like that when you
button.
helped him out in college, right?
Actually, kind of, yeah. I
And you
could
helped him
still
anyway?
feel that attitude. Yeah, because I wasn't getting that much of it. His attitude, that behavior was more towards his instructors than me. I was actually towards his instructors and towards the computer and towards the software. It wasn't really aimed at me, but I could see that in him, that's just who he is. All right, I got to stop talking about that.
Well, listen, all I can tell you,
trigger
and
me.
obviously I wasn't in your position, right?
Yeah.
So I can't say, but, and I'm sure you did what was the right thing for you to do. But I have this rule, I'm not going to fire a client. But if I think a client should go somewhere else, I tell them. And there's been a few occasions where clients argue with me and I go, look, if you think I'm not doing this right, why are you on the phone with me? Like, if you're going to sit there and tell me what I don't know, why did you call me? Why do you keep coming back? Because if I were you and I was telling this technician how to do their job, I'd find somebody else. And I'm just straight up honest. So how do you want to proceed? You want to keep going down this path? Because I can adjust the price. There's a price for that. If you're willing to pay it, I'm willing to tolerate it. But if I were you, I'd probably look to find somebody else you got along with better than you're getting along with me. Then I'm not stressed out. You're not stressed out. And somebody else is making money. Everybody's happy. So why not? So I make a suggestion. Strongly worded suggestion. If I were you, this is what I would do. And that usually solves it. But I never say, I'm not going to help you. But I let them know.
Yeah. I had been through many things trying to fix the situation. And just that was not fixable. Let me address David Graham. And David, do you have a link for what you're saying there? He says, did you hear? It turns out the drive failure is caused by Phison's engineer firmware update and not Windows, and a new firmware will fix it. Regardless of whether or not we heard about it, I think Carey and I are both on the same page. We want a link to some authoritative source. Hearing about it is not something we are going to put any.
Look, I don't want to insult anybody, but the internet is so gullible these days. I'm 10 feet tall and 4,000 pounds.
I was thinking that.
You were right. I made a video about how I cannot trust Tom's Hardware anymore. David Graham is probably going to point you to Tom's Hardware. They no longer...
he says on their site. That's not a link. David, a link. Don't tell us to go search for it somewhere.
Right, because I'm a millionaire, and if I just keep repeating it, that's going to put $1 million in my account. You're wrong, Carey. You are a millionaire. Okay, let me check the account. No, still not $1 million. So again, I don't mean this as insulting, but people on the internet are so gullible now in 2025. I've never seen this level of gullibility online before. It's like they've been pre-programmed subliminally to automatically believe negative things, even if they're not true. And when you tell them they're wrong and that there's no evidence of this, they will fight to the death. They will end their lives to defend ignorance. And it is so frustrating to me that the only conclusion I can come to is that there is a certain portion of the world population that has their mind tuned to only listen and hear what they want to hear. And damn be the facts. If they want to hear it's sunny outside, it doesn't matter if it's raining. They don't believe it's raining. And even though you can just turn your head and look out the window, they won't do it. They will fight and argue for hours about whether or not it's raining. And all you have to do is turn your head and look. So this is all gossip. None of it is true. Tom's Hardware has a history of posting gossip and intermixing it with news. And I've called out Tom's Hardware in a video that you should not trust anything Tom's Hardware says. Furthermore, none of it makes any sense. If what they're saying is a beta engineering sample of a firmware to a Phison controller is the cause of this problem, which is what Tom's Hardware said, then how the hell did all these people get it? Number one. Number two, if you're sample testing an engineering sample, you do so under the guise that it's not done and there could be problems and that you're going to report that back to the source of the firmware, which is the company that hired you to test it. You wouldn't make a public post about a Windows update when you're beta testing a firmware update, when you have an SSD problem after an update. That doesn't make any sense. Furthermore, how can there be so many supposed people that are affected? These people are mostly all liars. They're liars. They want to jump on a bandwagon to be a part of something that they're not a part of. I want to be one of the cool kids too. Yeah, it happened to me. Well, I stubbed my toe after a Windows update. Damn you, Microsoft. Every time there's a Windows update, I stub my toe. Clearly, the Windows update is causing me to stub my toe. Anybody else stub your toe after a Windows update? Is this how dumb we are becoming as a society? Because if so, I want to go live in the woods. I'm going to go write a manifesto. There's no possible way that there is a beta firmware that affected so many people. There's no possible way that the correlations that people are making to determine causation holds any scientific ability to replicate this problem, because Microsoft and Phison have been unable to replicate it, and they should be suing for defamation to the false narratives posted on Twitter by one guy in Japan that caused all this nonsense. And people are so biased and inclined to want to believe this nonsense, to damned with the truth and to damned with the consequences and the damage that they're causing and the fear they're invoking in other people. Now, whether they're doing that knowingly or unknowingly, I can't tell you. Are they willingly trolling because they think it's fun to watch how gullible people are? Or are they the gullible ones because an acorn fell on Chicken Little's head. They believe Chicken Little, and now they're warning everybody, the sky is falling. I know because Chicken Little told me. And they truly believe it. So ask me again how I feel about it.
Okay, so I have Greg M provided a link, and here's what it drives to is NeoWin. And before you react to that, let me give you, because this is not adequate to what the accusation has been. This is saying, let's see, I guess I can share this screen.
Yeah, let me get you full screen so you can share that.
Let's see, I bet it's this plus sign symbol down here. Let's click on that, share screen. And Faison confirms potential reason. So this is NeoWin's article title up here, misleading, of course. Faison confirms potential real reason for Windows 11 SSD killing and corruption bug. We get down here to what there really actually was said. In response to the recent PC DIY Facebook post, Faison engaged the PC DIY contact to investigate. The results shown in the link below detail that Faison examined the exact SSDs used in the PC DIY testing and determined PC DIY was utilizing an engineering preview firmware, which is not the final firmware used in the Corsair Force series, such and such, and other drives with the E16 controller available for sale to consumers on the market. Faison has also replicated the PC DIY tests on site with the same SSD models and the same stress tests utilizing consumer available SSDs and found no failures or crashes. So no, this does not substantiate that a firmware update or a Windows update was killing it. They have a very specific case here that they examined and confirmed that this preview firmware was the culprit. That's not something to be sending out a message to the
A preview
internet at
firmware,
large.
any problems would be reported internally. You wouldn't publicly preview something and then complain that it doesn't work to the public. The whole point is you're trying to find things that don't work so that before they release it publicly, they could nip all that in the bud. So that doesn't make any sense.
Well, somebody got a hold of a pre-engineering preview firmware, and
right, but they should.
What their method is, what their method is for distributing that, I don't know. I don't care. But it's not. It was not what was available to consumers.
Look, if you decided I want to try pufferfish, and I tell you that pufferfish, if you don't cook it right or prepare it right, it could kill you.
Yeah.
And then you eat it and you get sick and almost die, and you go, don't eat any seafood. Like, wait a minute. What the hell has that got to do with other seafood? Well, I got really sick. Well, how'd you get sick? Eating pufferfish. Well, were you warned before you ate it? Yes. And you were warned. Yeah. There's a disclaimer. Yeah. And there's a reason for the disclaimer that you experienced. Yeah. So now you want to let us all know we should be aware of the disclaimer that you didn't pay attention to? Where are all the companies anywhere on this planet affected by this problem? Where's Ford Motor Company? Where's the government education system? Where is the manufacturer down the road or the power company that provides electricity and water to your house complaining about a Windows update shutting down services? Where is that article? Apparently, this is not only a bad Windows update, but it's one that only isolates specific home users. Could it be this one update that affects us all equally only affects certain home users for a reason? Yeah, it's the home users. They're
doing something.
They're either doing something suspicious, fishy, questionable, they know better, or it hasn't happened to them, and they're social justice warriors going, I can't believe that's happened to this supposed person on Reddit, and I'm going to jump on that bandwagon and wave a flag on their behalf, even though they didn't ask me to. It doesn't impact me. It's never impacted me. Anybody I know in real life, nobody I work for, I've never seen it before, but it happened to that guy, and it's wrong. So therefore, I'm going to go on every forum and post because this is so wrong. But you haven't proven it's real. It's not real. So if this is the beginning of what's to come, the internet is about to become useless. Because if this is what people do for fun now, as the new prank, do you have Prince Charles in a can? You should let him out. Is your refrigerator running? Well, you better go catch it. Is this the modern day version of a prank phone call? And the problem is you have two different victims. Well, three. You have the companies that have to defend themselves against these hoaxes. You have the people who think it's hilarious on like 4chan and 8chan who enjoy messing with people. If you don't realize how many trolls are out there, go visit 4chan. Go visit it. Don't participate. Just read what they're saying. It's all about who can we attack. Let's go after some small YouTubers. Why? It'll be fun. And they gang up because it's fun. And then you have the innocent victims who can't tell truth from fiction, who believe it's true, and they go shouting out the hoax to more people, but their intent is they think they're being helpful. And then you got, like I said, the damage to the companies that then have to prove these false accusations. And then you got guys like us trying to express reason, but those videos don't get clicks because they don't want to hear it. They want to hear, if I make a video, try this experiment if you're a content creator. Windows Update does not affect SSDs, proven hoax. Make another video, Windows Updates, broken SSDs proven. Tell me which one gets more views. Yeah. Not a few more views, 10 to 1,000 times more views. The one they want to hear. Doesn't matter if it's true. Test it. To damn with the truth. If that's what's going to get clicks and that's what's going to get me paid, well, then that's what I guess I have to say. And if that's what we're coming to, then I'm done. I'm out. So I get fired up about it because it's so easy to ask for evidence. Just show me one company affected by this. Show me anybody but a home user that's had this happen. And more importantly, has it happened to you? So I've had people say, yeah, it happened to me, Carey. I go, great. Let me buy the drive from you. Mail it to me so I can see it. I will buy you a new one. No response. I've left that half a dozen times to people who claim I'm wrong. It's happened. I go, send me the drive. I'll buy it from you. No. Gee, I wonder why. Why would they not send me the drive? So yeah, I get a little passionate. I get worked up on some of this stuff because if it's raining outside and you're telling me it's not, why are we having this discussion? It is or it isn't. It's not a question of what you choose to believe. It's factual. And if you can't prove the facts, then it doesn't exist. And until you can prove those facts, you should not accept it as truth. And when anybody questions your truth, if you cannot provide other than he said and she said, if you can't demonstrate it, how big of a problem is it? If you're unable to demonstrate that, you, who's ever watching this, if you can't show me that problem yourself, why are you worried about the problem if you can't make it happen if you wanted to? How does it make any sense any way you look at it? Okay. I'm done.
Okay. David Graham and Barry Klein, I think you're both moderators on my channel, and you could do post links there. If not, go over to my channel now, and we'll fix that. John, on my channel, I've had a communication with you in the past. I need to know more about you because you are a very recent channel, and you kind of fit the profile of this particular troll that I've had trouble with. So I'm not prepared to make you a moderator yet until you talk to us more, tell us more about yourself, or have some interaction. And let's see what else I had on my mind. Now, as far as I'm not asking people to show me an actual problem, because when a report comes out about some kind of problem that happens, I expect it to be a percentage of what's out there. It could be tens of thousands of people affected by something, and that's 0.0001%. So I'll take a little different approach on that. What I do want is the documentation, because almost every time when I see one of these headlines like this Faison issue, Well, I go drill into the actual report, like this one that Carey brought up again. I find, yeah, no, it does not substantiate the title that's being given to it. And I don't need to ask to see the actual problem, because when I see the actual report, they say, yeah, no, these websites and these YouTube channels that are reporting this, and people come in chat and say, well, such and such reported on it. Yeah, but they've got a motivation to get clicks. They get people watching their video. Go drill down deeper, and almost every time I find that it's not what the headlines are saying, and it just takes the wind out of the sails. And so
Let me
I
ask you
don't
a question.
jump on it.
Let me ask you.
Go.
Have you ever had somebody call you to ask you if you can solve a problem for their friend?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you handle that call?
Well, it depends upon who it is that is calling, but typically I want to talk to the friend. I want the friend to call me. I don't
So
want to
all these
try
people-
to solve it through this person. Even, oh my gosh, forget about a friend. The boss or the employee tells me so and so in the office is having such and such problem. Can you fix it? I go talk to that person and find out the person who reported the problem to me has got the story completely wrong. So yeah, I didn't know. I'm not. I might give a hypothetical response, but no. If you actually solve the problem, I need to speak to the person. I need to connect remote to the actual computer, because even the person themselves describes it wrong. They'll tell me about the error message that they see on the screen. I connect remotely to their computer, and they've left out half of the message. The other half of the message takes me to the real source of the trouble, because they've read
You
what they
see where
want, what they're expecting.
You see where I'm going with this, right?
Oh, sure.
None of these people reporting this have been affected by it. They're reporting what somebody
Yeah.
else said.
Yeah, well, but they're saying it that way. Have you heard that such and such has happened? I don't care that they haven't had the problem themselves. You care about that. I don't.
Did you ever hear something called the telephone game in high school?
Oh, absolutely. I played it.
Hey, did you hear Susie has
Awesome,
different colored
awesome
socks
game.
on? How does that day end? Susie has no underwear on by the end of the day. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I get exhausted with this, because there's a guy who makes really short, like Facebook reel and TikTok videos, and his name is Vanistay Tech, and he's like, I work on IT, and then he's like, and I can fix this for you, and then he shows these ridiculous IT requests coming from people. And there's another guy that makes Facebook shorts that said, if customers complained in IT the same way in other businesses, and the guy's like, my car won't start, so you have to fix it. Well, what's wrong with it? It doesn't start. Okay, well, did you try putting the key in? Of course I tried putting the key in. I'm not an idiot. Like, it's just, and he plays this out like with different types of work, different types of categories of careers. And it's endlessly hilarious. Wish I'd have thought of it. But one of my favorites was a story of a customer, employees in an office. Support ticket comes in, email's not working. The guy goes to the executive, the assistant of the executive that opened the support ticket. No, he goes to the boss, the executive, and he says, what's the problem? He said, well, my email doesn't work. And he says, well, can you show me? And the boss says, well, you got to talk to my assistant about it. So he goes to the assistant and said, well, what's going on? Well, the boss reads emails, but doesn't know how to use email. So the boss writes out responses and hands them to me, and then I transcribe those into email and respond on her behalf. Okay, so where's the email problem? Well, the way she does that, she prints the emails out. She doesn't open email. I have to print the emails out for her. And those emails don't print. It stopped working. So I guess the email's down. So this continues, where the end result is that the printer was out of toner. So email is down means printer is out of toner. That's what the tech has to figure out, is what did the ticket say that the client's complaining about, and what was actually the problem. That it's not unusual, it's not uncommon for the problem. Like, hey, the story I shared earlier, client says is our email down. Turns out, long story short, they didn't pay the bill. I saw another guy, a guy works in tech, makes YouTube videos, and he was there to diagnose their secondary fallback internet connection went down. And he was there in the middle of the night trying to trace it to which piece of equipment, big old servers everywhere, and he's trying to identify it. They didn't pay the bill. So he talks to the boss, says, I can't find this problem. The boss says, well, we didn't pay the bill. Well, that information would have helped yesterday. So there's what people report, and then there's actually what's happening. So again, I got a Windows update. Now I stub my toe. So Windows Update caused me to stub my toe. And when we get those support tickets, they're absurd. They're absolutely absurd. And it's part of our job. And I'm not complaining about it, but at the same time, for the general public to jump on absurdity without evidence that has no impact on them because they have not been affected by it, all they're doing is it's like you're trying to count some money. You got a big old pile of money and you're like 873, 874, 875. And then for no reason at all, me and a friend of mine jump in and go, 9,243, 12, 87. And you're like, hold on, stop. 1, 2. Like, what's the point of this? Other than to be disruptive and to mess with people, what is to gain? And why voluntarily allow yourself to be manipulated by people and become a part of the problem? What's going through their minds? If you actually have a problem, I can help you. If you're calling on behalf of a friend, have your friend call me. If it's not affecting you and it's not affecting your friends, let's not even talk about it. There's nothing for us to address because there's no way for us to test the information to verify it fixes the problem. But what if I have the problem? Then call me. But how could I avoid the problem? Turn off a computer and never use one again. If you don't want to get hit by a car, never go outside. I mean, what sort of reassurances are people looking for? There's certain risk, and it's pretty low risk, that comes with living life, and that's just a part of it. But to sit there and try and squash things before they happen and then pat yourself on the back as though you avoided it, you didn't avoid it. It never would have happened to you to begin with. And it's all anxiety, paranoia, and there's a certain level of just a bias against large corporations that are all evil, without whom you wouldn't be living in your house, using your TV or your internet. Most of the things you have in your house are made by large corporations. The quality of your life is thanks to those large corporations, mainly because they might employ you or people you know and give them a career and a means to earn a living. They made things affordable for you to buy that big screen TV or that new appliance or the car you drive. It's ridiculous to hate against the very organizations that you use in your life every day. It doesn't make any sense when it didn't impact you. So anyway, it's a huge, huge issue online, and I hope it's a fad, and I hope it goes away. And for everybody watching and listening to this, please do not be a part of that. But if you're sincere and you actually are having a frustration of your own trying to fix something, Doug and I will be glad, be over the moon to actually help somebody that's real, that has a real problem themselves. By the way, speaking for a friend. Oh man.
Well, I have one frequent person in my community, and I'm gonna let people in my chat guess who I'm talking about.
Oh boy.
And they're gonna get this. Where he frequently says, asking for a friend.
Oh. There's a cute show on for television that Mara and I have been watching that it's called The Tiny Chef Show. And it got a lot of internet outrage when it was canceled by Nickelodeon, and people love it. And they started a campaign to raise $100,000 to put it back on the air. And we said, what the hell is this? You know, we don't have any kids. We don't know what, never heard of it. Started watching it. It's actually really enjoyable. Teaches kids how to cook. Everything he cooks is like vegan. He's got a severe speech impediment, which, you know, they don't say anything about, but it's kind of hard to understand him sometimes. And he's just this little tiny chef with a pet snail and a pet caterpillar. And he does a few things that are just really, really hilarious. And I forgot where I was going with the story. When he's talking with like a guest, and he's like you and I, and then when we say goodbye, he says, "Okay, love you, bye," which cracks me up every time. So it's got enough entertainment value that it's wholesome, and it's introducing kids to cooking. And if he's making a pizza, he's making it with cashew cheese. It's all vegan. He doesn't even mention that it's vegan, by the way. Just that's how you make a pizza. And by the way, the oven's hot. Don't touch the oven. Let adults do this part for you. And I thought, wow, this really is a good show, and good for the internet for saving it, right? For all these people to come together, instead of tearing something down, they're building something up, propping something up that should have never been canceled by Nickelodeon to begin with. There's nothing, I've never seen a show like it. And it's got enough little chuckles even for the adults to enjoy. It's kind of funny. And you can check out, there's some shorts on YouTube if you type in Tiny Chef. And there's some funny little shorts where he's dancing to music while he's cooking and stuff. And he doesn't know all the words. And it's silly and it's family friendly. And I'd like to see the internet come together to build things, not to destroy things.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Mara.
Hi.
So Tiny Chef with his speech impediment, he says, "Blalo.
Hello.
Today we're going to be making some blomatoes." Anyway, it's just cute. I always have to turn closed captioning on because half the time I can't understand him. And you're like, does he have a pet caterpillar? That's a caterpillar. Well, that's weird. And he like lives in a tree stump, and he's a little tiny chef. He's got a little food truck. It's hilarious and it's cute. And kids today, in my opinion, they don't have enough of that. They're a lot of what they're seeing. Heck, when I was growing up, there was a cartoon called Roger Ramjet, and Roger would take a pill and it would give him superpowers. It's enough Popeye had spinach, right? He had a physical pill. Like, I don't know if it was a methamphetamine or what it was. I don't know what the message was there, but this is much more wholesome than that was. And, I never thought about it as a kid, but I think, well, would you really want to show kids to be a superhero, you have to take a pill? Like, no wonder why I haven't seen that on TV in a while. But, the internet as a community, we're a powerful resource to communicate information. But freedom of speech is also freedom to lie. And I think people really need to understand, I'm all for freedom of speech. I'm not against it. But without any rails or any boundaries, that also means it's your responsibility and not the government's to discern what's real from what's fake. And if people are reaching a point of boredom now to find the next new craze, just that they dream up in their head, like Windows Update kills SSDs, the first thing I want to know, what companies have reported this? I don't care what the home users think. It's no disrespect, but you're one person. I want to know what a big corporation that has money on the line, losing thousands of dollars every second that they're offline. I want to hear that story. And if that story doesn't exist, this problem does not exist. That is a home user enthusiast problem that does not affect anybody outside of that home user. And then when you have people jump on the bandwagon because, hey, that home user's having a problem and I'm outraged. Well, what problem do you have? The same problem? Oh, no, I never had the problem. So you know somebody? No, I never met anybody. So you know the home user? No, I don't know who they really are. It's just a random name on Reddit. But I'm outraged, and I want you to know and spread the word and join me in my outrage. So, yeah, that's a hell of a prank. Anyway, so you like, just real quickly, you like the B-Link mini PCs.
Yeah.
And
Well, now, but let me qualify that. I'm not saying I like them. I'm not saying I like them because I have considered multiple different brands. I like them because it appears to me, and appeared to me from the beginning, that they were going to have the product lines on a continuing basis. I found that there was plenty of them available, and I felt confident that they're going to be around, because I don't want to have a mix of different brands of computers out there. So they have changed the way their computers come packaged, and at first I was disappointed in the change when they stopped including these short HDMI cables. But then around the same time, I became aware of the thin HDMI cables. I thought, well, yeah, I don't want those thick ones anymore anyway. So that turned out to be okay. So yeah, that's I have not examined different mini computers. It's just because it appeared to me that they were putting a lot of product out there in the range that I wanted to deal with, and it's been working. Now that I've got an actual video of their factory, that even added more to it. It seems like there was something else I was going to add to that.
Well, the reason I ask,
yeah.
Do you also have, because Beeling doesn't make laptops?
No, I've done some N95 laptops and experienced more troubles with those. Particularly the one I have right here is blue screened a number of times. But I also have Big Beast and Baby Beast that occasionally blue screen. I think it's got more to do with what I do with the computer than so much with the computer itself. I'm not certain about that. But I also have, you know what? I was going into this down this road when I was talking about the B-Link computers earlier, and that my clients are happy with them, is a client that I assisted his purchase of a inexpensive laptop computer, N100, whatever it is. And after I had discussed it with him, after putting it into place, I realized some number of weeks later that I hadn't checked in with him to see if he had yet tried editing his pretty complex PowerPoint videos and actually using the laptop in his church to broadcast the PowerPoint display during the church service. So I checked with him a little bit nervous about it. Have you tried that yet? And he says, oh yeah, it's working great. Better than my old computer, which was, I think it was an i7 or something. No, it was, yeah, anyway, I'm not sure what it was. But yeah, he was very happy with it. And I'm just kind of blown away. Now, the laptops that I put into client hands that are the inexpensive laptops, I haven't had a single complaint from one of them. I'm the only one that seems to have trouble. It's a Doug thing.
Well, the reason I brought it up, there's a company, and I think I might have mentioned it in the past, but just in case, there's a company called Nemo, Nimo.
I've already done it. That's the one that has the church PowerPoint.
Okay.
He's got a Nemo.
What I like about Nemo is, much like B-Link, they have a wide variety of options, and they just sent me 3 more different models equipped differently. And they sell them bare bones, meaning you can put your own RAM and SSD and operating system on them, which I've never heard of a laptop manufacturer outside of Framework, plus a 90-day return and a 2-year warranty, and they're assembled in the United States. So just putting that out there for feelers for you to consider if you want to stick with one brand of mini PC for support reasons. I'm behind you on that 100%. Same with laptops. If we can find an affordable quality laptop, I'm just spreading the information. I had the pleasure of reviewing the latest Minisporum mini PC, which is a Ultra 9 285H, pretty high-end little mini PC. It looks a lot like the B-Links in shape and size. 2 USB 4s. I'm not trying to make a commercial here, but I'm just saying this thing is incredibly fast. You can't even hear it. 2 Gen 4 NVMe slots. And I'd say the downside I have with Minisform is they make so many computers that if I decide I'd like to go back and buy one I bought 2 years ago, there's a pretty good chance they don't make that one anymore.
Right.
So it's
Right.
great to get the latest and greatest, and it's great to get the same company, if nothing else. But they used to make, in fact, I think I have one here. They used to make this little teeny tiny computer, and I don't know why they stopped making it. I guess maybe it just didn't sell. And I don't know if you've ever had your hands on one of these, but I call it a mosquito.
Oh, yeah.
This thing is super tiny. And yet this has a, you're sitting down. This is a Ryzen 7 6800U in here. 16 gigs of DDR5 that's soldered in, 512 gig Gen 4 NVMe that runs at 5,000 megabytes per second, Windows 11 Pro, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's look how tiny this is.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe when I had it a couple of years ago, I didn't necessarily have a purpose for it. But now I'm thinking I might have a customer that could use these, and I can't get them anymore. They just stopped making them.
Yeah.
But I thought when they sent this to me, this thing's going to be loud. It's going to be slow. I mean, yeah, you can hear the fan. It's a tiny little fan, but it's not loud. And it's incredibly click, click, click. Things just go like that. And you can even play games on this. So, yeah, I was kind of sad that when I went to see, what's the latest version? There is no latest version. I guess people just aren't buying them. So anyway, yeah, it's important that we stick with a particular manufacturer or a particular model in the work that Doug and I do. Otherwise, maintenance is a nightmare if everything's different, right? This one uses this driver, this one uses that driver, et cetera, et cetera. And, when I build my own computers, even though I may not use exactly the same parts over and over, there's certain manufacturers I stick with. So the avenue to getting support is always the same. If I need a driver, I'm still pretty much going to the same place. And I was just curious with Minisform, not with Mini, with B-Link, because I had asked you before, and this may not be the time or place, but I said, hey, I got some mini PCs. Do you want to check them out? And you're like, I don't want to do mini PC reviews. You still feel that way?
Yeah.
Okay. Because
I'm way too busy with other stuff on my plate.
Just as a reminder, I have some over here. Once I'm done reviewing them, I'm sure the company would not mind if another content creator made a review of them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know what I mean? So it wouldn't bother me at all. They wouldn't mind. But if you're busy and you're not interested, that's all well and good. I just wanted to just see if anything had changed.
Yeah. I will mention that I have made a few people moderators on my channel during the show. I'm unable to make them approved users, so they go straight to moderator if their channels pass my screening. So if you're in my channel, and you may not have realized that happened if you haven't chatted since I did that. And that puts us into 2.5 hours. So I'm going to need to pull a plug from my side.
Well, I appreciate you sticking around the extra half hour. I try to keep them around 2 hours. And if the conversation's flowing and everything's good, I go with the flow. But yeah, I'm starting to sweat up here. It is still ridiculously hot and humid here in Phoenix. And boy, I can't wait for October to bring that weather down. And what do you got coming up for us, Doug?
On my show? Oh, I'm really focusing on problems that people are actually having with their computers. If there aren't any of those presented, then talking about or showing or working on actual problems that I have around here or have had recent with client computers. I'm still in my summer mode of shows on Saturdays only. As far as schedule, I've said that I may come up with a pop-up show now and then. That hasn't happened very much. I do have some edited videos in the pipeline that I want to get those rolling. I am intending to get back to 6 days a week as a intended schedule. I am contemplating doing those at a more varied time, not always the same time every day. I'm not certain when I'm going to start that back up, but I'm still working towards that objective. And with some redesigns to how the channel works in ways that hopefully will attract more issues, because I really need more issues to be able to support keeping the show on actual problems people are having with Windows computers. I think you're going to see me more and more laser focused on trying to stay in that realm.
Well, I hope you have better luck at that than I've had.
It's not
laser
easy.
focus.
It's not
What's
easy.
that?
Yeah. That's my intent.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that you'll be getting your goal is to get back on more regularly, because I'm missing the show. Saturday takes too long to come around. And I'm like, there's Doug's show. Oh, I got to wait another week. I want to binge watch.
Oh, look at that. I got a $10 super chat from Barry Klein. Thank you so much, Barry. Let's see. I do points on my channel. So he gets, take the number and add 2 zeros to it and do his name, Barry Klein, and press a button here that is for super chats. He gets 1,000 points for a $10 super chat. Thank you.
Right on. Well, and thanks of course to Barry for all of his support at our channel as well. And if I want to follow up with you on how this whole NAS exploration goes, because I think you're just scratching the surface. I think
I'm with you.
You're going to be a believer, and you're going to have them everywhere.
I'm thinking that's probably going to be the case.
And if there's anything I can do to help, I'm always here. I'll try not to make up any information.
And I'm kind of looking forward to show how I do the import of the user accounts.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. I'm liking the way that looks with AI assistance. Oh, I had a different kind of AI conversation this morning with. I mentioned to you before we went online that I'm jumping ship, leaving QuickBooks Online. It looks like that I only came up with this idea this morning and made the jump within an hour of the idea. I'm turning over to FreshBooks. And for those, if Jim's still around, you'll be surprised to hear I am not going to try to import my data from QuickBooks Online. I'm going to start from scratch. Jim teases me about doing things the complicated way and not taking the long route. But in this case, I need to start from scratch. But anyway, it was very frustrating because like 6 things in a row did not work. I tried to do this piece, did not work. This piece did not work. This piece did not work. So I was looking for some kind of a chat bubble. The only thing available was a phone number. I call the phone number and I think her name was Alice, I'll pretend. Absolutely outstanding. Obviously, English as a first language, knew her stuff, answered my questions in ways that I liked for 2 of them, and for 3 of the issues, answered the questions in ways I did not like, but it got me an answer. So now I could go look for a different way to deal with that piece. But then after I was done with that, I realized, hey, she was an AI. Actual intelligence.
Interesting.
That's my story. Yeah, she was a live person.
Oh, she was a live AI?
She was a live person. She was a live AI, actual intelligence, not artificial intelligence.
I see. Oh, she was a real
That's
person.
what I'm saying. But I'm
Okay.
really pleased. The product is FreshBooks,
I didn't know
and
any
I
companies.
got straight through to her, and she was very helpful, and I very, very pleasant experience. At that point in time, I was very frustrated.
Were you asking for tech support or were you asking for tutoring?
Yes.
Okay.
It's, well, let me give you examples.
Okay.
Now I'm having to remember it. Oh, okay. So I'm trying to sign into the account. I had created the account, and I was trying to sign into it later, and it said it was going to send a code to my
Yeah.
email. The code never came.
Mm.
So I'm just, what do I do now?
Right.
So I did a workaround. I signed in with my Google account. So I told her that the email didn't go through. This wasn't the reason I was contacting her. But after we took care of a couple situations, she said, well, let me check to see if our log shows that an email was actually sent out. She said, no, there's no email showing that it sent out. Since then, I've received an email from her telling me that she has contacted the engineers. They're gonna check it out. And she said it typically takes a couple days to get an answer back from them. She'll be back in contact with me. The reason why I originally picked up the phone to contact her, which one was it? Well, let me just go ahead and tell you another piece. I entered my first client into a time slip. So I'm creating a time slip, adding a client, putting my client information, and then I go back to try to enter a time slip for that client, start typing the client's name, and it shows up in a pick list. I was unhappy that it appeared that I have to move my mouse to the person's name to click on it because the tab key would not select it the way that it did in my old program, which is QuickBooks Online. I couldn't see any way I could type the characters, show me on a pick list, but I don't want to have to move my hand over the mouse. I'm very, very much interested in efficient keyboarding. And so this was a follow-up question. This isn't the reason why I called her. So she solved the first main issue. And I said, well, can I ask you a couple other questions? She said, sure. So she said, well, it's not the tab key for us. It's the enter key. Really? Okay. Well, that's fine. That's tutoring. That's absolutely tutoring, not tech support. So I type the name, hit the enter key. That selects the client. Now the tab key will move me to the next field. I would prefer that I hit the enter key, it selects the client and moves me to the next field. That would be more efficient. What was the reason why I first called her? I had created a item to go into my time slips called services. It wasn't showing up when I tried to select that in the time slip. But it did start showing up later. So that kind of healed itself. But what was the first? Because it was kind of had me blocked. I'm at the after we end the show, I'm going to remember what it was. But yeah, so it was tech support and it was tutoring. I think it's fair to say both of those. But she was absolutely very helpful and did not care if it was which it was.
Well, that's good because you don't see that much these days.
No.
Couple of things I wanted to just tell you about that you may not be aware of. We have a gentleman in our community. His name's Dennis. What I really enjoy about Dennis in particular is he wants to help. Not by telling me what to do or what I can do better, because that's how most people want to help, but by actually providing solutions. For example, the Nano KVM Lite. You still using your Nano KVMs?
No,
No?
they've been a little too problematic for me to rely on them and haven't had enough need for them.
I'm sorry to hear that. I
think
love
I've-
mine. I put together the Nano KVM Lite as a little project. It financially doesn't make any sense to spend the money to buy the memory card and download the image and then buy the cables. For all that expense, you could just buy the regular KVM. And this doesn't have a screen on it, which means you have to use some network tools to find its initial IP address. Otherwise, how are you going to find it? Well, Dennis wrote a free tool that's available for anybody to download. That's the Nano KVM Lite Discovery Tool.
I did catch that.
Then, there's the issue, and I don't know how often you're running into it, but I don't use names and passwords on network sharing. And with the latest Windows 11 24H2, it locks out guest fallback access. And anyway, the video I made showing people how to work around it is like, oh, you're a lifesaver. I've been trying to solve this problem for, fill in the blank, 3 months. So Dennis is currently in the process of writing a little application that will check the status of those settings and show you thumbs up or thumbs down, allow you to click one button that will back up your registry, adjust those settings automatically for you on your behalf, and allow you to revert those settings back to the way they were if you prefer. And he's doing it for free. So we should have that available soon, which is a lot better than copying and pasting a couple lines into PowerShell as administrator. And I'm very much looking forward to adding that tool to my utilities flash drive just to make it automated, right? We can always do this stuff by hand, but to automate it, for me anyway, why work harder?
Now, I would like to get you to point me to where I can get that utility that he did for finding the IP address of a.
If you go to careyholzman.boards.net, that is our forum. And at the very top of the page, I think it's at the top of the page. Let me go over here. careyholzman.boards.net. This is Mara set all this up for us.
Nano KVM Finder. I see it.
Nano KVM Finder is right up there at the top. It's a really small application. Now, it's not registered, so Microsoft may say, hey, this might be a virus. Feel free to scan it, with whatever antivirus you trust. I wouldn't discourage you from doing that. And our friend Dennis in our community has created that tool for us. Now, I offered it to Cypede, the people who make the Nano KVM, and they said, well, you didn't submit this correctly. I'm like, what do you mean we didn't submit it correctly? Well, you got to dot this I and cross this T and put the files in this file folder structure. No, we don't. We're giving you a tool that you don't offer.
Puts an effort
You are
into
welcome to put it and rearrange it in there any way you want to. It's yours. Have fun. Oh, no, we don't do that. I go, well, you're ignoring people who aren't technical. You're saying, well, all people have to do is download Nmap or Angry IP Scanner. I go, yeah, ask your mother to do that and see how successful she is. I go, this tool should not be available to only nerds. And it needs a discovery tool. And you refuse to make one. A member of our community made it and wants you to have it so you can offer it. And if you have nothing else to offer, then the only thing you should be saying to me is thank you. So this is a company I love to hate because on the one hand, they have terrible sense of business. On the other hand, I have multiple KVMs. I have Jet KVM, the Comet. I got the brand new Nano KVM Pro that has HDMI pass-through. So you can plug on the Nano KVM Pro, you can plug it into your computer and then plug your monitor into it. So now you can still use the computer locally without disconnecting the monitor. And the one I keep going back to over and over again when I need one is I fall back to this one because it's so tiny. I just plug it in. We're good to go. Also, the new Nano KVM Pro works on Wi-Fi and also works on power over Ethernet. So I'm just saying they're still they're polishing and evolving the product. And yeah, I'm sorry to hear you're having trouble with yours. They're not perfect. I sometimes have issues depending on the computer. But usually rebooting the Nano KVM or plugging it into a different USB port on the rare occasion that happens has solved it for me personally. And of course, once I'm in Windows, I just use a Windows utility. I wouldn't need this. But man, this has been a game changer for me, Doug. I mean, being able to set a computer up here and then go upstairs and work on it, I'm getting so much more done now. I'm actually out of machines to rebuild. This is how efficient this has made me. So I realize
you have a specific reason, a specific task that works for you. The benefit of being able to connect to a computer through that was just too minor for me to pursue further. I was having trouble with the keyboard mouse not reliably working when I would connect to that. So the office that I was dealing with was a 10-minute drive away, and I didn't have anybody there to try plugging it in different ports. So I would just go do what I need to do there. And then I'm using my remote access software, and there was just no reason to pursue it further. But I like the concept of the devices,
and they're getting better. They're still evolving with new products. And, you know, I'm probably the only one in the world who uses this the way I use it. I realize that.
Could be.
But I love that I have the option, right?
Right.
And and for a client of mine that's in another state, and I needed to update a BIOS, I'd have to drive out there to do it, or get them on FaceTime and try and walk them through over the phone. I just mailed them a regular, not this one, but the one with the screen, and had them plug in for me, and I was able to update the BIOS, turn on Secure Boot, and go ahead and update those computers to Windows 11. And they have a machine there that's not booting, and it's a pretty new machine. We'll end on this story because I'm curious what your take on it is.
Okay.
I said, well, plug the Nano KVM in so I can see it. And when they go to turn it on, relatively within the last 2 years, it's a pretty new computer, maybe 2 years old. It's barely been used, never had any problems. I built it. It says no operating system found, no bootable device, something like that. So I have them plug in the Nano KVM, and I want to see this. And the NVMe drive, it just has one drive. That's it. It says it's there. BIOS sees it, but there's no partition, no format, no nothing. So I have them plug in a Windows 11 USB, which I, again, made with remote access. I said, do you have an 8 gig USB? Downloaded the media creation tool, put it on there, and then said, plug it in for me. They plugged it in. So on one USB, we've got the Nano KVM, and the other USB is the Windows 11. Restart the computer. Windows 11 starts. It says, do you want to install? Yes. Okay. I see you have a completely brand new unallocated NVMe drive. No partitions, nothing. Well, I don't know what somebody did to this computer, but that's bizarre. So yeah, and it says, okay, we'll create the partitions, and installs Windows 11 like normal. I reboot. It's in Windows. It's fine. I don't know. I guess it's fixed. I go to Windows Update. Says it's going to take a half an hour. I come back to check on it. I'm back to a black screen that says no bootable device found. I look in the device I go into the BIOS again. It says, yeah, you have an NVMe drive. It's unallocated. It's completely wiped out. There's no partitions. It never shows it was ever used. What do you think that is? What would Doug do?
Well, what brand computer is this?
Carey Holzman brand.
Oh, it's a computer it's been a computer that's been operating for a while.
No.
Oh, you
No.
did updates. You did updates.
No. I mean, I was trying to, but during the updates,
Yeah,
something
this
happened.
problem happened. Okay. Well, I have a computer out there that actually I am interested in putting a Nano KVM out there, because when it does a BIOS update, it changes the drive type. Am I saying the right? From, what does it say? From AHCI to RAID, I think is what it changes to. And then the computer's not bootable, or vice versa. So the drive type, I'm not using the right word there, I don't think. But anyway, the default setting for that happens when a BIOS update occurs is the wrong one for how that drive was configured. So if that gets another update, I either drive out there to change the setting in BIOS, or connect to it through the nano KVM and make that change. But beyond that, at the moment, I'd be thinking about BIOS update, which seems unlikely because you have a drive that has been functional all along. All of a sudden, it started not working. But I am still suspicious of a BIOS update.
I checked the BIOS because I was connected with the Nano KVM. I was either I updated the BIOS or it already had the latest BIOS. I can't remember.
Well, I'm not interested in whether it has the latest BIOS. I'm more interested in changing to default BIOS settings, or changing to optimized settings, or changing to some other custom configuration that computer needs that is not the default. And just because you have the most current BIOS, that still might be changing BIOS settings away from what it needs to be. Now, the fact that you did your most recent install was perhaps after a BIOS update was successful. If it was successful, then could that have, I mean, I would expect that would be okay. But the way you're describing the series of events, I'm thinking that during the process of doing an update, it failed to restart, failed to complete the update. And therefore, when you reinstalled again, the BIOS settings was still different than what the BIOS update that it was going to receive during the Windows update was going to change it to.
It wasn't even installing the Windows updates. It was just downloading them. And in the process of downloading them, it shut down and restarted on its own.
Well, okay. When updates are downloading, they'll start installing.
This is true. That's true.
While some of them may still be downloading, and it will go ahead and do the installs and even an update. So it's not like it does the download and then waits for you to click on a button to actually install. Although I think there's a configuration where you can do that.
No, you're right. You're right. But here's the thing, and this is before the other Windows update that kills SSDs. Before all that, this has been going on for a few months.
Okay.
So this is the same system with the same components as other systems in the office. There's nothing different about it. I'm not aware of any BIOS setting we could change that would erase the drive. It's erased. There's no hint that it's ever been used. There's no format. There's no partition. It is wiped. It doesn't disappear out of the BIOS. It's always there. So I said, I got to see this has to come on the bench at this point. Yeah. Even the Nano KVM. I thought, I'll just reinstall Windows. Somebody must have done something serious to this, one of their employees. No, just try to put Windows on it pure with nothing else. Didn't even get to drivers, right? Just the first reboot after Windows installs takes me to the desktop with the username in. All that's working. So I'm thinking this was easy. Hit Windows updates, walk away, come back. And I know the Windows updates had a ways to go. I was just checking on progress. Everything's reset again and the drive is completely erased again. So I said, well, I'm going to have to see it, but I am thrown. I had a computer the other day, just real quickly, that I was trying to install Windows 11 on, up from Windows 10. Right. Nothing wrong with this computer, no complaints. Qualifies for Windows 11. I go to put it on there, does the first reboot. You get the screen that says Windows is configuring, please wait. It reboots again. Windows is configuring. Your system may restart several times. Then the whole system shuts off. That's weird. It's off. I have to physically turn it back on. Turns out there's a UPS sitting next to the computer that was installed in 2022. It's got a label. I make them label them. It says E02. I think E stands for error. And I recall the customer said to me that the machine wasn't turning on. Could it be the UPS? And I was over the phone. I said, yeah, try plugging the computer directly into the wall. And it fixed it. And I said, okay, get rid of the UPS. Just don't use it. Well, they just decided if the computer's working, we're going to ignore it. So other things are still plugged into the UPS, including the USB cable that the UPS talks to the computer. So on my third attempt to install Windows 11, just prior in Windows 10 on the system tray, I see a little power thing with a battery, and I'm like, wait, this isn't a laptop. Why am I seeing a battery? And I look at the UPS. And is there a USB cable running out of that going to the back? Yes, there is. Huh. Let me unplug that USB cable. Windows 11 installed just fine, no problems.
Yeah.
So I hate UPSs. They cause me so much headache and solve nothing. And I keep telling my customers, stop buying these things. Anyway, hey, look, that puts us right at 3 hours. So thank you so much for last minute being available. I always enjoy hanging out and sharing our stories and discussions. And especially when it comes to the customers and how we bill, we're so different in that way.
Yeah.
But I have really, your way would make me a lot more money. I just don't want to work that hard. Let's be honest. And again, we appreciate all the viewers joining us and participating in today's show and the live chat. A reminder, if you want to hang out over at careyholzman.boards.net, it's a free forum. Everybody's welcome there. It's always open. And hopefully Dennis will have his updated Windows 11 network fix tool up and running and tested, and then we'll offer it there as well. And Dennis is not charging anything. He's just giving it to the community. And who knows, maybe we have another little project we can set forth if Dennis enjoys this kind of madness. It's great to have somebody in the community that has the skill and the motivation to write these little specialty applications for us. So, huge shout out to Dennis for that. That's a rare find.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you, Dennis. And
of course, you'll be back live on Saturday. Be sure, if you're not subscribed, check out Doug Betts, live Windows training with Doug Betts. He does everything live and interactive like we do here. He takes a different approach, but at the end of the day, we get our man, we get our results. And I enjoy watching his content. I watch all of it, and I think you'll enjoy it. If you enjoy my content, you probably like his content better, if I'm honest. So if you haven't checked it out, go visit. All the links are in the video description below the video. Thanks to all of our members, and thanks for all of the chat participants. Thanks to Mara for setting everything up for us and that amazing thumbnail that she did, which apparently we're both wearing the same shirts.
Oh, your shirt was also what was on the thumbnail. So she did do
the
thumbnail.
It's in the trailer, the boxing trailer. I just realized.
In the trailer. Okay, yeah. This last time, or I don't know if it was the last time, but there was one time when she did a thumbnail and it happened to be the shirt that I was wearing that day, and she did it again. I already had this shirt on. Then I saw the thumbnail.
She's from another planet. She's a lizard person. Be careful with this.
I don't know.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you again, and we'll look forward to having you on very soon, and we'll see you on Saturday on your show. I will see you.
Okay. Thank you.
And thanks to everyone for watching. That'll wrap it up for me for today. On behalf of Doug Betts and myself, thank you for watching. We'll see you all again very, very soon. Until next time, bye for now.
Bye for now.